welcome, Hare Krishna. Welcome to the, what number Prabhupada Festival is this? 35th Prabhupada Festival. Sadhu Sangha will never catch up with the Prabhupada Festival as much as they compete. Nor will they systematically talk thematically about Prabhupada's intentions and movement. They may glorify the holy name, but we'll glorify it and dance around it, expand it, and we will try to even understand it. That is the Prabhupada Festival, to appreciate Prabhupada, not just to appreciate Srila Prabhupada, but to learn more from Srila Prabhupada, because the teachings, they are so vast, they are so bottomless, the fathomless amount of knowledge that's available. That's the nature of transcendent knowledge. So I want to welcome everyone and thank all of you and recognize all of you that have come to share this. We're not just here in this temple room, but we're all across the country and into various other countries online. So we speak to an audience that we can't see, but what we know is there, and we welcome them also. Because actually the subject matter that we're touching upon in this festival is so deep and so important, especially in the world of today where food shortages and other kinds of supply chains are at risk at any moment. The reliance on fossil fuels for our production of foodstuffs is so tenuous. And in the face of that, Srila Prabhupada has given us such cogent instructions, which, frankly, only very few have taken into their heart as being one of the heart and souls of Prabhupada's mission. We have to remember when Prabhupada writes, he says that Krishna comes to save the cows and the Brahmins. Is that not right? Is that not right? Right? The cows and the Brahmins, right? So who gets saved first? It's like in a plane, right? It's like whenever you save the women and children first, right? So you don't save the men and the women and the children. No, you say save the women and the children. If the men can get on the lifeboat, if there's room, okay, but not first. First are the cows. Then those people pretending to be Brahmins. Cows don't have to pretend, they're just cows, right? So, vacas, right? In Spanish, yes. So we are here to really kind of plumb the depths of what it means to not just have a farm community, but to live a life based on those values. Prabhupada refers to that kind of social system that Krishna presents as Varnashram. And let's face it, we haven't really instituted much of Varnashram. It's pretty difficult subject matter for us to really contain, especially those of us who fancy ourselves not as Sudras, not as Vaishyas even, a few of us as Kshatriyas, and like most of us, we all want to think like we're Brahmins. But the fact of the matter is that we're all in the deep cesspool of mudhas. We don't even want to accept that we are so outside the Varnas that we're just, but the beauty of it is that we're trying to act like none of those four categories. We're actually acting in the position of aspiring to, of Vaishnavas. And Prabhupada engaged his disciples in so many different activities. Nevertheless, at the same time, he established these Varnashram farms, become self-sufficient, and above all, more than anything else, protect mother cow. So today, we're going to hear from some people who are not just lip service to this instruction. We're going to hear from people who are actually dedicating their lives. They're preaching. They're investing themselves in a future that they may not be able to see, but nevertheless, they're establishing the foundation for that future. And it's a wonderful thing. It's a great sacrifice, a great yajna, to do something where you'll plant a tree knowing that the fruits of that tree may not come in your lifetime. That's really a great service. And I want to acknowledge every one of the people who's going to speak today and tomorrow for making their lives about something other than themselves, for a higher truth. That's a wonderful thing. And it's not, I'm distributing a book and someone's going to give me some reciprocation in the form of appreciation or money. No, you don't get that. Not when you're establishing a farm community, not when you're attempting to institute a semblance of a structured varnashram idea, not when varnashram is so not misunderstood, not understood. And not when you consider yourself a person who's not even subject to that system, but a Vaishnava just doing the best that you can. As Prabhupada said, make the best of a bad bargain. And this bargain, whether you've experienced it yet or not, is severely bad. So, I inaugurate this beginning of this wonderful exploration into what we have done with Prabhupada's instructions over the last Prabhupada's instructions started in 65. How many years is that now? 26 and 35? How many years? 61 years Prabhupada's been preaching to us. He was preaching earlier, but to us, 61 years. So what have we done in 61 years? It's a lifetime for many. What have we done? Where are we going? In the Varnashram farm category. And is it true? Well, we're going to try to answer this question over the next 2 days. Is it actually true that Prabhupada only completed 50% of his mission? Is that a fallacy? Is that a fact? Is that an interpretation? Is that a wish? What is that? I'm going to be sure that our speakers address that question, and we're going to look at it very deeply, because for one thing, there's no record of Prabhupada ever saying that. There's just a memory. So we're going to really have to look at that carefully. Memories are what? Fallible. And we want to know from the recorded histories, from the written histories from Srila Prabhupada's lotus mouth, what actually we need to do, not from our memories. Okay? We're establishing that rule. We have to look to Prabhupada's words. Not his words that have been rewritten, by the way, in second and revised editions and additional Bhagavatams. No. We want the original authorized words that Prabhupada said, that's authorized. Nothing that's outside of that. I just want to make that clear going forward. Okay, everyone on board with that? Thumbs up if you're on board with that. Yes. Okay, thank you. So our first speaker is someone who really has dedicated his life, his words, to fulfilling this mission of Srila Prabhupada. He is the actually GBC minister of cow protection. And the voice piece, the megaphone of Varnashram and farms in ISKCON. And he has a lot of experience. And he's a very wonderful, sweet, golden-hearted man, Kalakanta Prabhu. Kalakantas, there's two Kalakantas, as we know. One is our Kalakanta, who's the Krishna House Kalakanta, as we know him. Also the He's the chairman of the Sabha. And that's not the one that you're going to be hearing from. But you're hearing from no less a Kalakanta. Because, as Shakespeare said, a rose by any other name is sweet. So Kalakanta Prabhu, may I introduce you? Come up here and sit and regale us with your knowledge, experience, and your wonderful nature. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
You're going to be here too?
I'm going to be listening.
I thought you were going to sit here with me.
I have my cushion back there.
I sit there.
Just move that aside.
Break the protocol. Yes. Oh, sorry. Oh, no, just... Hare Krishna. Nishingananda Prabhu, thank you so much. He's been such a guiding light in the GBC meetings with the Sabha and so many other initiatives in the past. And well, you made a point which was heard in forums, and a lot of elements which I think you brought up, including now you spoke so strongly about farms. Farms is a point which was very much on the very bottom of the list of the leaders. When I walked in the GBC meeting in 2015 to start the office, that discussion was so low on the priority list that I didn't know what to do with it, like how shall I address this? Every time we spoke about cows or farms, they said, yeah, by the way, this other topic. So I was bewildered on that. And what I realized over time is that many devotees have such a deep historical account, like this morning we're hearing from Vamana Prabhu and Mahashakti Prabhu, who have lived in Gitanagari in those times. And it was just amazing the amount of wisdom, of experience, of know-how, things we must register, capture for going ahead. So my first idea when I stepped into this office was to recognize, and this was my first speech to the GBC body. So here comes Kalakanta, not the Kalakanta from Krishna House. Maybe today I should say Kalakanta from Krishna's cows. It's Krishna House and Krishna's cows is a way to joke with us. My first speech to the GBC body was exactly this. I walked into the GBC room, and there were my heroes as a young devotee. His Holiness Radhanath Swami was there, and we glorified him, and Shivaram Swami, and Gopal Krishna Maharaj, and Devamrita Swami, and Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. So all these stalwart devotees are there, and I'm supposed to step in and give a message to them. And I did. And if I look back, that message started when I was in college. My father is a PhD in plant breeding. He went to Cambridge, UK, and then to India as a teenager when I was in India. And I kind of got enamored by the Indian culture, because all these PhDs presented in India, which was full of aesthetics, full of art, full of philosophy, full of tradition. So I was not introduced to a poor India. I was introduced to a very wealthy India, which I loved. It was part of my childhood memories. And then when I was in that India, it took me some curiosity about, spirituality, and that led me to the Hare Krishna. And as a Hare Krishna, I dropped college, and I said, I don't want to be a PhD, I want to do this. This was my life. And then later on as a Hare Krishna, they convinced me to take college again and to finish and graduate. So I'm a grihasta with children and family, and I'm finishing college. And sometimes, I have to admit, I look at Prabhupada's picture and I'll say, Prabhupada, do I really have to do this? It's such a sacrifice. Is this going to help me or help anybody? And looking at his picture, which was on my notebook, that picture that he's looking at you almost with a tear in his eyes, he has a pullover, it's a very warm picture. And his eye almost told me, Don't worry, there's work to do. You just carry on. And I said to him, when I first joined the Hare Krishna movement, that we wanted so much to express our desire to serve Krishna, the earth, the cows, agriculture, but the leadership would never listen to us. So I said, Prabhupada, we love you so much as a bhakta, but who is going to listen to us? The leadership will not listen to us. And fair enough, I said, if only one day I could tell them how much we love you. So Krishna keeps a record, by the way. Whatever you speak to him, he'll keep a record. So here I am, 2015, in front of the whole leadership of ISKCON to give a message. What did I say? What did I say? I did. I was nervous and I offered my humble obeisance. Actually, I'm wrong. This was not 2015. I was appointed. I came to the meeting in 2006. So this is February 2016 in Mayapur. So what did I say? I offered my obeisance. Yes, you're done right. I did offer my whole obeisances to the GBC body. What did I say next? No idea? I wanted to say that, I wanted to say, all the farmers don't believe that you have any attention, but I didn't say that because I was too afraid. Actually, my 9-year-old daughter, she corrected me. I ran my presentation through her, and she said, you can't say that, that's going to be aggressive to them, this is not going to be appropriate. So she corrected me and she filtered me. And what I said was, dear GBC members, the places I have gone in my first year of office, the impression is that you don't care so much about the farmers. You're not really extending your support, your attention, your finance, your everything like that. Now, you've asked me to do this service, so my message to them is that you're sending your person as a bridge. And I'm going to listen to what that's going to be. So that was my speech, and with that, Srila Prabhu said, you conquered the GBC confidence. And on that same year, as I spoke this morning, I went to Kirtanagri, and we had the first farm conference with Dhruva Maharaj, which is right here, Prabhu. And in that call for people interested, we captured Puru. Here comes Purushottam Kshetra Prabhu with his same computer, it's the very same computer. Here is a whole history of self-sufficiency, Varnashram. There's a whole research here, which is his treasure house, and 7 others. And in the 7 days, we kind of created a picture which was very positive. And the picture was the following. We need education, we need expertise, and we need support. So in these 8 years following to that conference, my job has been traveling and trying to network, find the leaders, find an opportunity. And here is what we have today. By the way, we had no idea of this, where the farms were, so we put together. And I literally have traveled to most of these places. India, we thought, had about 40 projects. It turns out it's 100. In our list, we have 140 entries. So 100 in India and 40 in the West. And most of them have small pieces of land. So the big challenge here is to make India understand that cows require space, cows require agriculture. And we'll talk more about that. We also went to Australia. Australia has a beautiful experience in New Govardhan with young people. Those of you who have been there, you might recall Krishna Village. It's a very beautiful strategy to reach out to people. And they have other farms, New Gokul, and near, what's the other farm in Australia? There's 3 farms. Dhruva, help me out there. It's near Melbourne, the Melbourne farm. The Melbourne, 3 farms. Then we traveled to Russia we went to Siberia, a beautiful farm in Siberia called the Planet of Cows. Did you know that? They started 30 hectares, they own 400 now, they're aiming at 1,000 hectares. It's a beautiful project with wheat and cows and villages. It's a whole developed Chaitanya Chandra Charam Prabhu as a guru. Beautiful, beautiful initiative. And that has connection with also Kazakhstan and different parts of Russia. It's a very nice project. Then, of course, Europe was the hub of cow protection. We have 19 projects in Europe, and they're doing well, most of them. Africa, we have Kenya. Umapati Prabhu is doing a great job. He's a great soul, and the farm is doing well. We have some little initiatives in South Africa. This in the middle of the ocean, you might wonder, what are the cows doing in the middle of the ocean? They're drowning out there. I think it's Mauritius. The famous Mauritius Prabhupada spoke about, don't grow sugarcane, grow food. Brazil has a beautiful scope for farming. Climate-wise, land is cheap, good breeds of cows, good breeding programs, good agroforestry. We have 3 farms there, and a little bit here in Ecuador, in Guayaquil. It's called Jagannath Hut, looking at the ocean. A beautiful, beautiful place. Then here in North America, there are 9 listed. Farmers, Dhruva. Come on. We have 9 farms entries in ISKCON. 10 with Baltimore now. You see, even in the memory of the most stalwart devotees, the list of North America is fading. Escondido, 1.5 acre here in Laguna Beach, yes. There is one which is almost fading from our minds. They need help. It's Murari Sevaks in Tennessee. They need help. They're there. I think 9 includes Canada, which we have, what's that, very ancient, it's a traditional farm. Sharanagati is there. And now Baltimore. And I think we covered.
Tell us a little about Baltimore.
Baltimore, I came here on this trip funded by Baltimore. So the Brazil ticket was paid by them. And the reason is,
There is no farms in Chile and Paraguay.
no,
Why is there?
Argentina. Argentina has a little start which kind of failed. So it's here, but it's a devotee farm, and it was supposed to be a community farm in Argentina, and it didn't work out. So it's private, but it's still on our list. So, and some of this is because the GPS location is wrong. So when you locate it, it just threw us to different places. We do have a place in Guyana, which is a private place, but it's coming to be an ISKCON place. Now, the question was about Baltimore, right? Baltimore is the very exciting news, future, because Baltimore reached us and says, we want cows, but we want to do the right thing. So you come, tell us the protocol, tell us everything we need to do. And I went there. I came to see the farm. The farm is actually a farm. First of all, it has soil. Second, it's not a steep mountain like Dhruva was saying, like you can, it's arable land. There's water. They had a house which is about 100 years old house. They refurbished it, and believe it or not, all the air conditioner is natural. By the basement wind, it comes. While in the temple, it was about 30 degrees Celsius. I was burning in the sannyasi room. There, it was so pleasant. So I said, this is natural intelligence. So the Baltimore thinking process is, it's natural, it's organic, we want to do slow, we want to do right. Right property, 35 minutes from the town. It only cost $1.2 million, and just the house would be worth about $500,000. What do you speak of 130 hectares of productive land with forestry, with everything. It's an exciting project. So for me, Baltimore is the, let's say, the next step for North America. It's farms, yes.
Why does the map cut off the West Coast?
I guess you're too independent, so Google just cut you off, right? I don't know. It's you're supposed to come on this side, I guess. I don't know how you divided that, but somehow the West. I don't know, Rishihananda Prabhu. Thank you for bringing Seattle up. It's the same as Florida, D-Land. Srila Prabhu was the GBC for these two projects. And I asked him, so we're doing the inventory, shall we add them? And he says, not at this point. So they've been put as private. Hari Vilas, yes. So, before I entered that tunnel of property office and everything, I just said, Shesha, so what? I said, for the moment, consider as private. And I said, okay. The reason behind it is, if you have a look in ISKCON, we have very much the sense that there is ISKCON as a borderline, and everything else is outside of ISKCON. But when you go to a Mormon community, their borders are much more flexible because the congregation is part of their development. So someone is getting married, the institution puts money on that property as a gift. The Amish people, they get together and they build each other barns and houses. So I left at that because I thought maybe that's where we start to think about stretching the boundaries, rather than putting a very solid boundary and discussing property. So I'm so happy that GPOC exists, because I don't have to deal with GPOC. GPOC will talk to Seattle and Hare Vilas. What I wanted from a ministry perspective was, we are focused on the educational and visionary mission. The specific administrative arm needs to be there, and I'm so happy it exists. Because I believe that doing it legally, we have here, Vamana Prabhu has 90 acres of forestry, right? And he's doing on his own, with his own finances. This kind of initiative is the future. We need to link up all these initiatives. Just next to Vrinda, she's not here now, she said someone has 60 acres, and there's so many other properties. So one thing is to get the institution right, I'm with you. The other thing is to expand the vision. So, I don't know if Seattle was kind of cut so this topic wouldn't come up, but I don't know, I think we need. They have 3 farms, yes, they have 3 farms, yes. And we have D-Land. D-Land was bought by Bhaktivedanta Swami, okay? And the idea of D-Land was he wanted to make a place for the ministry to exist in here. But unfortunately, the land was not of a good quality. The soil was sandy, the swampy area, and the permits was very hard to get. So I just told him, maybe this is not a good way to start. Better we link up with Dhruva and we figure out something. So, in a nutshell, this is what we have now. And it goes up to, you have that link? You have that link? There's a little link. Yeah, that Prezi. Any questions about any more farms? Yes. That's a typical private farm, Narayana, right? You're talking about Narayana. Yes, he did it himself. He fundraises himself. So, is he okay with Sipak? Narayana is okay with Sipak? Narayana is from Hawaii. Yeah, Narayana Prabhu, he is living in Hawaii, and he has a cow program, but that's his program, not our ISKCON program. He likes to say it. So, okay, yeah, so that's. He has some presentation. There's some video on it. Okay, we can show it later. I just wanted to give you a brief kind of panorama where we are at in terms of locations. Now, for me, as a person who is looking forward, what I can see, yes, go ahead. It simply means that an individual from the congregation decided to make a project, and instead of linking it to the administrative flow of ISKCON, he decided to take ownership. Independence, in that sense. The beauty of being ISKCON is because you have a succession plan. Let's say Dhruva in, 50 years decides to retire, then ISKCON will probably offer a succession plan. So the cows of Gitanagari are under an umbrella of continuation. I think that's the beauty of our institution in that sense. Yeah? Yes?
Did you mention some
You're talking of Sarvajaya Madhava? That's been listed as a private project for me from Guru Prasad Swami. So I'm still waiting for more from North American RGB on that sense. We spoke with Sarvajaya Madhava, and you find an interesting concept. Some businessmen can find a space which you're not filling. And what's that? There's a great demand for living together in congregations. And they might propose, hey, I can make this. We have land, come and build something here. And if they do propose, you find yourself with a new settlement which has devotees, has things very similar to what a farm community would be, but is a private one. So how to deal with something interesting to discuss, because that might be shared roles, that might be cooperation into that. So that discussion, I think, is a very valid one. You know? Yes, anybody else?
I think some of the times people don't understand the importance because they think, well, other people have farms. But when it's all sprayed with Roundup and it's picked before it's ripe, the quality you get is not near as good. Plus they waste so much of it that you, by doing vegetarian on less than 1/10 of the land, we could produce what we need. If you look at statistics, if we went even half vegetarian, we would have enough land to produce all the fuel we need, and we don't even need oil. So there's so many things wrong with the way that they're doing farming by poisoning it, and they feed the cows grains instead of grass. And the need for farms, I think, needs to be established, because you can't just say, well, other people have farms. It's like saying, why do we have food here? Other people serve food too. So the quality of what they produce is not sufficient. Is it on?
Yeah. I think you brought a great point with Nishingananda Prabhu. Open up with that, the food chain fragility and the
Yes.
soil and the health and the chemical farming. We have
Yes.
discussed a lot of that. For me, what is really the turning point, Srila Prabhu, the turning point is when we become masters in producing a regenerative way. Because we can speak about it, that has some power, but until we are actually masters in doing those systems, it becomes a little theoretical. And in Brazil, we have the agroforestry systems. They're excellent. And now there's big scales, because permaculture is like a small scale business, because you have to work so much, it's labor intensive. But some agroforestry systems, they can look really wider, and we need to be experts at that. So for me, the answer will lie in expertise and education. Is that all right? I don't know how much time, what, yeah?
Your Prezi is here.
Oh, it's here, my Prezi has come. So I want just to introduce this IMCPA. First of all, before you do click, do you know what IMCPA stands for? Go implode that. Go back, Puru. If you just roll your mouse back, yes. Here, IMCPA. Yes.
Protection. What's next?
And agriculture. So it's ISKCON Ministry of Cow Protection and Agriculture. Or I am Cow Protection Agriculture. So yes, that has been there since 99. This ministry was established in 1999 by Balabhadra Prabhu, and it went on until he got very ill. I think he got some very heart problems and different diseases. So the place came up in 2015. I joined. Let's go for it. Now we can click on it. And basically, as I mentioned, without resources, without influence, what do we do? 16, we came to Gitanagari and said, Dhruva, Prabhupada said he would sit here and teach us. What is your plan? I made that question, remember? And his answer was so candid and so simple. He said, we'll do it. We'll show by doing it. And then he showed me the milk and the connection with the National Resource Conservation System, NRCS. They're ready to give grants. They're ready to give expertise. And Lisa was her name, I remember. Melissa. Excellent agent. She was like a Bhaktin. She was helping them out. Here the grant is coming up. Come, do this, do that. And she was bringing money to Gitanagari and expertise and know-how. And that was all Dhruva Parijata's knowledge of networking. So he showed me networking with the government, networking with the Amish, networking with farmers, networking with food groups, colleges, universities, and internships. So that's what we learned in Gitanagari in that time. And then we went to South America, into Italy, and the conference started. And from that conference, we had systematic visits, and that led to our next stage, which was networking. So network was what we wanted. So we networked, and now we do have, it's safe to say, a global network. If you want me to say what's happening in Russia, I can with a phone call tell you, or in Australia, or in Brazil. So now we have to transform the network into the next stage, which is education. And we want to teach people ethical dairy, regenerative agriculture. So these are the two main outcomes to be done for this next cycle, which started in 2023 and goes until the next 2030. So in a nutshell, that's what happened. Now, click here, Prabhu, in opening, please. We started with this cow protection course, and it's called Taking Care of Krishna's Cows. So it could be Kalakanta of Krishna's cows and Kalakanta of Krishna's house. I think it's people remember that. Krishna Kshetra Swami is one of our ambassadors. He likes to talk about, he published a book about that. And the course, if you click here, Taking Care of Krishna's Cows, we got the best teachers. He is Dhammagopal from India. Parijata Mataji, Dhruva's wife, is a teacher. We have from London, Shyamasundar Prabhu, from Vrindavan, Sanatana Prabhu. And now the course is trickling to Hindi, Portuguese, and Russian. So we're getting a unified message of what is, we didn't have that, what is cow protection. So that's one first tick of the box. It started only 2024. We can implode that box. And again, go back, yes. I want to click on Srila Prabhupada. And I'll close here. Srila Prabhupada, in his letters, we're going to read them. You're going to see that he hit on very current major points, starting with the natural law. You listen to him talking about the natural law. And he says, simply by protecting the forest, you get honey. Simply by protecting mother cow, you get all the dairy that you need to run civilization. So he goes back and back to the natural law, and these natural laws are the laws which govern nature. And some of our farming methods have captured that. Tomorrow I will show you some of that, hopefully, right? Then he talked about natural arrangements. What did he say in New Vrindavan? Any of the old timers? When Prabhupada in 69, what was he speaking so strongly in New Vrindavan? You're shy, come on, you know this. You've said it so many millions of times. He said that you should have this formula, 1 cow in an acre. What else did he say in New Vrindavan at that time? He said that right in 77 when he was leaving, but he said many more things in 69. What did he say when... Silence in the room. You don't remember? Well, actually, he was speaking very strongly that you should sit here, you should live simply, worship Radha Vrindavana Chandra, take care of the cows, and have a very peaceful sattvic life. And devotees thought that might be too simple. But actually, Prabhupada had coined at that moment local economy. We discussed so much about local produce, how this state is suffering with almond crops, dairy, droughts. The strawberry business is down because there's no labor. There's so many problems with your agriculture here, but Prabhupada is saying in 1969, you have to produce locally. That's the future. Now all the agencies are saying local produce is the top priority because we think we can just export from Mexico, Brazil, but then the cost and the carbon footprint is huge. So Prabhupada was ahead of his time saying natural arrangements, local produce, natural homes. There's a whole fever of natural homes, small homes, tiny homes, mud houses, ancient technology. He was right on top of it. Let everyone be happy. Now, the current system we live in is not a happy system. It's a system of high bills. If you want to live on this street, you need to cash $3 million first to buy a house or mortgage. So it's not an easy thing to be happy in those circumstances. So he wanted us to be happy by being local, by having natural homes, and by having this arrangement. That would generate a low carbon footprint. So the answer, the ecological answer we're looking for is right there in his teachings. Social engineering. Rich people are thinking, I can live near a town, I can have a nice home set up full of forests and nice outlets, so I can from home do my IT business and have a very comfy life. That's the trend of America with agri-hoods. If you go to Atlanta, there's an agri-hood called Serenbe. And the cheapest plot is $250,000. And the plot can go up to $700,000. One plot. Not talking about the house, this is the plot, remember. So your house will cost somewhere between $500,000 to $1.5 million to live. These people live in these places just to have a comfortable life where they can engineer their lives. There's a farm there, there's a school there, there's a shopping center, everything is around them for a better life. Prabhupada was saying this from the 60s. You live here comfortably and you have that beauty of the place, you have nature, you have a very nice social life. And then he went into this term which is, we talk about circular economy, which is basically talking how the economy kind of nurtures itself. So Prabhupada was saying we should as much as possible nurture our internal economy. And here's where we were weak. That petal is for me the weakest petal in ISKCON, is the local economy. Because we are confused between the idea self-sufficient means we do nothing and we live with a little bit of grain on the hand and some friends in a mud house and that's it. And that picture is not the picture of Nandagram. Nandagram has 2 million cows given in charity when Krishna is born. So that's a different picture. They are throwing yogurt at each other. The milk is available on the ground, so the pasturing ground is wet with milk. So the image given is abundance. So there was a little confusion in our minds between abundance and indulgence. We think every time there's abundance, I have to indulge. And Prabhupada was very critical on you use your resources very strictly, but it has to be abundant. And we failed to understand that. So we kind of did project, we didn't have a financial background, and it's hard to do something when there's no financial background. Dhruvaji, what is the thing you think if there was support from the higher leadership which help you today? One thing.
From the top leadership you're talking
Yeah.
about, yeah. So, I mean, I was mentioning that this morning over breakfast. Somehow the other, there needs to be more cooperation because, of course, we need manpower. I think, all our facilities around the world, temples, farm communities, everybody alike. The main challenge seems to be manpower. So, it's how to come together. Prabhupada, this was his thing about cooperation. Your love for me will be shown by how we can cooperate with each other. And this seems to be the principal thing that I'm, trying to juggle and try to figure out how best to do so that we can, have some movement.
Just for the sake of this illustration, this is your GBC man going to talk to the GBC body. And you said cooperation. Could you be more specific to him? I want to see a little dialogue.
No, it's sorry. So of course, it stems from the fact that is farm communities a priority in ISKCON?
You're talking to him. You're making
Yes.
one request. Remember.
So if it is a priority, then how can we, just like how Prabhupada had done in the early days, when Prabhupada was developing so many new projects, he was sending resources. He wasn't, of course, just saying things should become manifest, but he was also directing resources towards different projects. That's how, Mayapur project, Vrindavan projects, so many projects around the world. So is farm communities a priority? Did Prabhupada really emphasize farms? And how can we cooperate to develop this more and more?
You're talking to him, he's the GBC. Can you respond to him? You're the GBC man.
If you knew, if anybody who knows me knows I'm certainly not a GBC man.
You are now, you know, at this moment.
I think they would take umbrance with that. But let me play the role. I don't know if I could do that because to do that would be, I would have to say the following. Yes, you're absolutely right. We're going to take that up in our next meeting.
Become a DDC overnight.
Which is really a lack of. I mean, I don't know if I can play the role that you want me to play because I'm too invested in being the contrarian in the room.
Just
And
for a moment, imagine he's made a request.
Oh.
I need some funds and resources.
yes, we will. They're going to say. I mean, as the GBC man, of course, we're going to definitely give you money and manpower. We're going to bring that up in our next meeting, and we're going to have a committee, and that committee is going to break up into subcommittees so that we can thoroughly examine the subject, and those subcommittees will be making a recommendation, and then that recommendation is going to take the form of a resolution. Then we're going to pass that resolution, and then that resolution is going to determine the future of our movement. How does that sound?
Thank you very much. We really appreciate your cooperation in this matter. Yeah, so that's why I was feeling very encouraged, by the devotees or the organizers for the Prabhupada Festival.
Oh, you're still talking to him?
Yes,
Yes.
I was feeling very encouraged that, the devotees had organized this theme for the Prabhupada Festival because, of course, Prabhupada did say books, books, books. I think, 99% of our devotees remember books, books, books. Books are the basis. But Prabhupada also said, how many people remember? Prabhupada also said, farm, farm, farm. From the very beginning I told you, farm, farm, farm. So he also said that. So, Prabhupada wanted this so much. And of course, we'll, like Kalakanta Prabhu was saying, was that we're going to be reading, some of Prabhupada's direct letters. So if somehow we can cooperate more and more, and see how to develop, our existing farm communities. Yes, new is always needed. We should always continue to purchase land as much as we can in ISKCON, even though we may not see the direct benefit right now, because of course for most of our devotees, they're saying that, it seems like growing food is difficult. So much of manpower is needed. Just go down to the store, just go down to the Walmart or whatever store is there, and you can pick up so much of stuff there. But for those of you that do the burger buying, do the purchasing, I went to the store in Harrisburg. Whenever we go to the city, we go to Harrisburg.
Okay, so, as your GBC man and authority, I want to tell you what great appreciation we have for the work that you're doing and the light that you're shining on the need to expand this other half of Prabhupada's mission. After all, we have to remember that Prabhupada himself was on the way at the age of 77 in a very weak condition to no other place other than Gitanagari. That's where he was intending to go. According to Abhiram, he was going there to establish the other 50% of his mission, which he said, according to Abhiram Prabhu, was unfinished. That would indicate that he gave tremendous emphasis at that stage of our movement's growth. As your GBC man, I can tell you that's from my authority of experience, which is longer and I have more privy to the really underpinnings of Prabhupada's intentions, and he wanted to go there not for the book distribution, which everyone says is the number one priority, isn't it? You say? Book distribution is number one. Not according to the history of what Prabhupada did in his last act, is it? He was stressing the value and the importance of creating these farm communities which were self-sufficient, and he wanted to have cooperation. Matter of fact, the BBT was established as part of as their profits. I, as your GBC man, know this, that the profits, half of them were supposed to go to acquiring properties and building temples. That was what the money was his. He was instructing the money to go for the Lakshmi, to go for that. Am I right? So you can count on me as your GBC to voice your opinion in the meetings. Not that we have any control over the BBT right now, because the BBT, of course, is no longer a trust, it's a corporation. So we can't tell them what to do with that money anymore. Neither can we even see what they do with that money. But that's the money that's needed to establish those places all over the world.
Jai. I did ask.
And they have stopped giving money to the TOVP, as far as I know, as a GBC, but because I'm a GBC and not a BBTI corporate member, I really don't know. So if you're looking for help, good luck.
Can I ask a question?
Thank you for your honesty.
Okay.
And then my GBC man would come in the meeting and says, Kalakanta, we have an issue. Gitanagari needs help. Can you figure out? Your question.
So we were discussing outside the temple a little bit.
Yeah.
Dhruva and Kalakanta, myself, I had some questions, and we were discussing. And Dhruva Prabhu has been at Gitanagari now for 13, 14 years. He doesn't come from a farm background. He's got a PhD. Huh? 18 years, excuse me. And he's got a background in
Nuclear energy.
Nuclear engineering or something. Some high space thing. Completely opposite farming. But one thing we agreed upon is that, and this might be the reason why it's not expanding within ISKCON, is that farms are basically going to they're going to take money. They're going to require, they're not going to create money like book distribution does. Book distribution brings Lakshmi in. And so I said to Dhruva, well, how are you maintaining yourself there at Gitanagari? Oh, we're selling a little bit of molasses. We're selling a few vegetables. Well, that's not going to cut it. That doesn't seem, online. I mean, how much molasses can you sell? You know, we're selling books, and books bring in a lot of Lakshmi, and I think that's the reason why books have been focused upon in ISKCON because they do bring in money. I'm only asking that, I'm bringing up a practical point because I'm a very practical person. If Prabhupada wants the farms, how do we maintain them if not being helped by the temples? The temples have to support the farms.
First of all, tell them what's your economy actually like?
Yeah, so I mean, I was saying it is difficult, of course, because we need manpower. But literally, we have been maintaining the farm at least for the 18 years that I've been there. So it can actually be very profitable. We just need to get a few Vaishyas in the mix. You know, I don't have, of course, I am lower than the lowest Sudra, no Vaishya skills whatsoever. Yes, guaranteed. Yes, because the whole idea is self-sufficiency. This is what my understanding Prabhupada wanted. Self-sufficiency. So we don't want to necessarily make profit. So yes, it can be. We need the right mix of, like Nanda Maharaj, he was real Vaishya. So we need persons like that to engage, but from the little that I've learned, living on the farm, living at Gita Nagari and practically doing the work, doing the facilitation and everything myself, I can see it, there is a viable future. But of course, the Vaishyas will tell you that, you need a little bit more gray matter than what I have. And, you need that inclination, that, Vaishya skill to be able to turn this.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say
Yes.
is that our farm communities are really striving for self-sufficiency. It's not a profitable venture, it's meant to be self-sufficient. And that's what Srila Prabhupada wanted. He wanted self-sufficient farms where people can live in a more
Go ahead.
environment
Yeah.
and grow their own
Right.
crops locally.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I think you're hitting the cracks of the matter, because that definition of self-sufficiency is what I think is the blurry picture. Because when you say self-sufficiency, do you mean not even a needle or salt? What level are we talking? That's question number one. See, because are we going to buy 90% of the stuff, 80%, 70%, 50%, 40%? How much is self-sufficient? Where does it lie in? That's the first question. Second question is, I'm one person, we are 6 in my community. I could grow carrots for 6 or for 200. Do I grow for 6 or for 200? If I think self-sufficient, just feeding the 6 of us, I'll say I'll do carrots for 6. But if I think with these carrots I could perhaps do it and trade for other things, it could be 200.
You read Prabhupada's letters, definitely Prabhupada, that was his mood. Whenever you have access, then you can sell, trade or barter. So it's not like you have to restrict it at a certain point. Now, of course, if the focus becomes capitalism, then we got lost along the way. So we need to be able to stay focused on what is the goal. And the goal, my understanding is, it was there on the board earlier, simple living, high thinking. If we're starting to sacrifice to produce that excess for whatever other reasons, development, and not having sufficient time for spiritual life, then we lost the plot again. So there has to be some balance, and that's why Prabhupada talks about the natural laws of society. So I don't think there's any real restriction, but my understanding is, self-sufficiency is a major criteria, but at the same time, the overarching principle is simple living, high thinking, so that we can have more time to chant Hare Krishna. So when you have a community, then everybody is doing a little bit, making hands lighter, simple living, so that the goal of life is to have more time to chant Hare Krishna.
I'm happy with the way this is happening, because I think we are cooking here. We are cooking like a khichdi, right? And every round we put a little bit more of a spice, we adjust in the formula. I can let you, I just want to put one ingredient in the khichdi. I was discussing with Tejas Prabhu. He was in Secunderabad in India, and he was also in Delhi. And Prabhupada was telling him that he has a plan. And that was called the Kishan movement. Have you heard of this? Kishan movement? So in India, his plan was to start an agricultural revolution with the farmers. He called the Kishan movement. So his idea is that our farm is what Dhruva said, a self-sufficient hub connected to many, many farmers and villages around it. And that, let's say, network was going to really produce the amounts that we're thinking, and they'll be taking Krishna consciousness in India, and we would be perhaps channeling their products, we'd be selling their products, and we could take the restaurants. So his plan was, his man who came to the farm initially had the first task to keep Krishna consciousness as a top priority, but gradually reach out to a second layer around us farm, which are the real farmers. So we are city boys, like you say, but we have a layer of farmers who are there, and some projects are doing that. Govardhan Eco Village, Damodar, Vanshi Prabhu, he's doing it in India also, like a foundation. That seems to be the future in some place like India, South America, Africa. We need to do that. Here we need a different argument, because if you go to a farm and says, we want to help you, he's looking at us, you need help, not me. So we need a language, a talking point with the youth, with the farmers, to create that tissue around our farms, who's going to be our producers. Dhruva has the good experience with the Amish people. He reaches out. And I just want to end this ingredient of the khichdi with this statement. One of the Amish men, who is a friend of his, I also happen, Sam, almost stepped into the Ahimsa dairy equation. For a little, I don't know, millimeter, he didn't step in. Because he saw good price, good assurance of sales, I can get in. If that happens, Sam has a whole network of Amish people around him, and that can be a talking point. So we need to find those talking points where the real profit, let's say this way, would be around, so we could maintain the hub. Just like you're all congregation members supporting this temple. So if this temple had to be productive by its own, generate money, it might struggle with keeping the high standard of the deity worship and all the other services. But because there's a big congregation doing services like this hut, and like the Bhagavatam class, and like everything else, donating Lakshmi, it can be. So that's my ingredient. Is that okay? We have a question, a pressing question.
It seems like with so much information about the negative effects of commercial farming, we should be able to use that as a way to sell the higher quality organic things. There's already so much information about it. We don't have to,
Yes.
we just have to promote it.
Yes, I think this is a key point. And without adding another ingredient?
So that brings up the issue of, to what degree does the complexity or simplicity of our ashram, the ideal of our ashram, interfere with the motivation for people to create these farm communities? In other words, is there, in that khichdi, is there a chili that's making it unpalatable to some and undigestible? Perhaps we are conflating Varnashram with farm communities.
He just put a chili in the khichdi. Like, I think it was a Mexican chili, very hot, this one, like those top priority chilies. Yes?
I was thinking a lot about this recently, and I think the fact that we say farm communities really doesn't fit very well with, majority of modern people who are city-based and used to relying on a huge infrastructure, which has been up to now quite solid until you go back to earlier in the century when it collapsed. But for many years it's been solid. And I was thinking about how the farm community has a very broad beneficial effect on the community, because along with having land, you also have residential places for devotees where they don't have to work. They can dedicate their life to serving Krishna. They won't have to have a job. And you can have places, you can have many old people who can retire because they don't have to go into costly care, and they can be part of a community. You can also easily build schools and do all the things that covers a wide area. It's not just about food, it's about quality of life on every level when we have farm community. And I was wondering if sometimes the fact that we say farming, it kind of puts people off, and maybe it should be more like I don't know, community development, or I don't know, some other way of phrasing it.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, Mataji, you're raising. Thank you very much for that contribution in the Khichdi. But my understanding is, when we talk farm communities, we joke at Gita Nagari we have unlimited services. So there's, service for everybody. There's service for the farmers. Of course, we have deities, garland making. There's, every variety of service. Whereas, I haven't lived in the cities too much, but for example, here in the LA temple, there's a finite number of services you can do. You can wash dishes, you can clean the floors, you can do deity worship. What other? Of course, book distribution. All of these services are there. But
restaurants.
But when you come to the farm, you can have all of those things plus, unlimited other services as well. So this is the beauty of living in a community, and I think this is one of the visions of the movement, that if we can have these types of self-sufficient communities where we're not so dependent on the outside. But even that sounds hard work. I guess your point is it sounds like hard work, but that's why we need the intelligent class, the brahmanas, to put their heads together and say, okay, how are we going to make this work?
I like your question. And by the way, the khichdi is open, right? We are all cooks in this khichdi pot. So you can all add an ingredient. If you combine the two ingredients which were put, Surabhi Prabhu put an ingredient and you put an ingredient. You said people want to live, housing could be there. He put so much propaganda against the chemical farming. Isn't it time we put something together? Now, if you look at various religious groups, they put together a food brand for the whole institution. The Adventist Christian have superfood. If you look at the Jain, there's Jain food. The Muslim has halal. They all put out a kind of brand which kind of gives them funds to invest. So we still haven't got to that point. We're very young, 56 years old, right? So we're still at that early age. But if we start thinking as a group, and we say, hey, wait a second, Gita Nagari is doing ahimsa milk, one of the few places it's truly ahimsa. They crack the code and they get all the Amish community to back them up. Now, instead of, how many liters a day you have?
Right now we're doing
420 gallons. 60 gallons a day. 60 gallons times 4 is 240 liters. Okay, so from 240 liters, let's say you go to 2,400 liters. Now with 2,400 liters, you're kind of halfway what New Vrindavan did in 1982 a day. The whole of ISKCON today is supplying about 4,000 liters of ahimsa milk. All our farms together, 4,500 liters a day. I mean, it's for the whole world, it's minimal. If Gita Nagari could do that a day with the Amish network, and we say, okay, Gita Nagari supplying ahimsa dairy to everyone in America who can't do it, and even ghee, and then we put that on a brand. And then we come with timber. Okay, here's someone who's doing timber. Who else is doing timber? Let's get our timber together. And then that effort is the next step, because that will give us enough capital that you don't have to talk to a GBC who is on the phone and he's not paying attention to the meeting. And he told you to talk to your minister who is going to talk to him again. And we're going to be discussing together. So for me, looking from a GBC office, we're here in the GBC office, I see empowering you to do the farms, to do the branding, is what we need. If I go to the other end, if I go to Gita Nagari and to your farm or your place, and I'm talking to my GBC man, I say to him, you need to think of a strategic plan which allows us to have a brand which is free enough with Vaishyas to not be stuck into the ISKCON and ISKCON, like very strict line. Because if we do that, ISKCON is not traditionally a commercial entity. So we have that, discussion. What's ISKCON, what's not ISKCON, and that kind of, how to put it, it cuts down the Vaishya impetus to have business. So this is the discussion which is happening. That's my job, by the way. I just described my job for you. I have to go back and forth, and here I say, look, we have this big potential. Others are doing. We can do it. But who's going to do it? Do I go to the farm and say, look, we can talk to the GBC guys, dear members, and we can tell them that we need a brand. Oh, Prabhu, you're farming. I can't talk to them. You talk to them. So, what's missing in the equation? For me, this event is highly valuable because we are churning the kitri, we are cooking the kitri. And at least this group is getting a little of a thinking process. The moment we have a strong Vaishya in this room who says, I'll take the branding and I'll offer the service, and I'm already rich enough, I don't need to be so nitty-gritty about it. We'll work it out the GBCs and let's make it. It's one brand for ISKCON. That solves a lot of the issues. Because that business has to be a business. It can't be just an idea. Because ideas don't make money. Ideas can make money if you have a business guy who transforms into money. But we need a business mind who will put this out and make it to sell. So for me, that's the missing link between your question, Mahashakti Prabhu. Us farms supposed to be taking money or giving money? They're supposed to produce money. Cows are supposed to produce money. But to be able to get to that stage, they need investments which don't come. So you get a cycle of codependence. Now we need to break that cycle by making people autonomous. Okay, let's go back to the kitri.
We have in our ISKCON society, all over the world, many donors who have outside jobs, who give donations. We have it locally here. And we wouldn't survive without them. I think our farms should be the same. These are people who want to see the success of our farms, who believe in the concept, who believe in the cow protection, who believe in people living there and developing the farm and chanting Hare Krishna. And they can give donations to a 501c3 and make a nice tax write-off, and we can develop nice farms. I think we need to get benefactors.
Yeah, my understanding, of course this is our perpetual need in one sense. And, in talking to so many devotees, because of course our community at Gitanagari specifically is a very, very small community. There's 8 or 9 families living outside, and there's a handful of devotees living on the inside. So, a lot of, if we do get donations, they'll come from the big cities, New York, New Jersey. And of course, most of the time, these devotees are already engaged giving their Lakshmi to these local centers.
To where?
To the local temples in New Jersey, Washington, D.C., New York.
Yeah.
So if they're already engaged giving the bulk of their Lakshmi to purchase temples, then there's not much left over to... So
Okay.
I hear your point.
Yeah,
Yes,
the vision I'm seeing, I think, Kalakanta Prabhu, and we have here, in my opinion, the head honcho. Kalakanta represents the highest level in our society for this particular cause. So I think part of your glorious mission might be to raise awareness among benefactors who would like to support our cause on a farm level. I think that's part of it. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, I'd like to respond to that.
Okay.
In the first part of my mission, I had to know everybody, so I wasn't really worried about any of that. So I just had to have enough Lakshmi. The GBC gave me $7,000 a year, and that was it. And I got a few help from Eco Vrindavan, was very helpful, consistently every year. They gave a matching fund. So we were able to at least be here and say. But now, things have changed. We have the network, we have the knowledge, we have the skill sets mapped out. All we need is this benefactors, donors, and programs with the GBC who says, all right, no issues, you go ahead. Because many times we get benefactors, and then later on, the GBC person will come and he'll say, oh, but I had already plans for this zone. I had plans for this zone. So we had issues of checks going back. So what we need is a vision from the top leadership which says, yes, we are good with that plan. So I'm putting a plan together. And the plan engages basically the US, India, South America, and trying to create a win-win situation. Vamsidhar Prabhu, who's here, he has a presentation tomorrow. He's going to show what he's doing in India. Brilliant work. It's similar to what our Tarasata Prabhu did in Africa. Are you aware of his work? Hare Krishna, remember Hare Krishna Dasi? The one who wrote the magazines and the Varnashram Manifesto in the 90s. She has a son named Tarasata Prabhu, which you call him Asto for short. As a young man, tomorrow there's a video about him, he wanted to take Africa out of poverty. So he went to Congo in the middle of the war, which is not a good idea, but he did. And he started with 2 farmers, and he ended up with 20,000 farmers. And they became the biggest producer of vegetables in Congo, and his secretary became the minister of the state in agriculture. Complete success. He removed himself, the Working Village International. That's what he's tomorrow presenting. So Vamsi Prabhu is picturing something like that for India. And we're already partnering with him. And now we need to come to America and say, what is the talking point for the American youth or the American farmers? We need to create those talking points. And that's where the benefactors come in. Because they can be Google, they can be Microsoft, they can be Lenovo, has millions of dollars waiting for us. But we need to qualify, just to say, okay, we have 3 years record, our non-profits are all lined up, they approved, let's go forward. That's all that's missing at this stage. Because all the other ingredients are in place. We have the manufacturers, we have the vision, we have the mandate of the Acharya, the GBCs are more aware and more flexible and more inclined. So now, Dhruvaji, it's on our hands and the GBC, man. Sorry to give you that role. It was exactly the opposite of what you do.
So we have success in that arena in America. That's Hari Vilas. He's harnessed the community of Microsoft community in Seattle. He's inspired them to promote cow protection, development of self-sufficiency. They've purchased 3 farms. They're creating their own network. So how does that gestate? Where does that come from? It comes from the determination and the intelligence of enlightened leadership. Am I right? Right. So you need to bring in those people, some of whom are here with us today, to plan together how to expand that vision. Because those are the people that have the vision and the intelligence to promote it. Everything depends on leadership. You can't, this is not a groundswell kind of endeavor. It doesn't happen from the bottom up. Just like Prabhupada was the leader, and then we joined the Pied Piper of Krishna. That's how it happens. So I recommend that you, Kalakanta, begin to concentrate, Prabhu, on bringing those effective leaders together as a brain trust to help expand that mission of yours, because they're the ones that know how to do it. And I also think that though the GBC was empowered by Prabhupada in 1975 in a conversation that's recorded, and Prabhupada declared without any equivocacy that the GBC manages the BBT. That's a done deal, but they've dropped that responsibility. And if somehow or another the BBT was reminded and forced to support the addition of farm communities and support of farm communities worldwide, which is in their charter of the trust, that would also free up that money that we get from the books to promote farms and farm community building. Those are my recommendations.
So the khichdi is coming to a cooking point. It's almost cooked, right? It's almost ready. Can you smell it? Well, it's time to put the ghee in that, because it's the most precious time. The chance is coming, right? You fry your cumin seeds, okay, before the chance.
I think it needs some more cumin. Let's go back to Hari Vilas for 1 second, if you don't mind, because Hari Vilas, he didn't come from the farm perspective. He was an ex-GBC, or he was a temple president. He's sitting in an area where you have all these IT devotees who work with Microsoft. Microsoft has a program that will match the funds that these IT devotees are giving. Now Microsoft will match those funds. And they took advantage of that to the max. That's how they built those temples, and that's also probably how we got those farms. So that goes back to what you said. Let's get some intelligence going here. You're super intelligent, Dhruva. Let's get some intelligence going here as to how we could lasso in things like that. That's free money. And they help build all of our network up there in Hari Vilas's turf. I think we need support like that. Gitanagri might not have it so easily. I mean, I don't know. They have State College up there. I'm just using an example. New Talavan just had an opening of a new temple there on their property. It took them forever to get that new temple built. We do need funds if we're going to progress as fast as we need to, because we are the best movement in the world, the best saving opportunity for this world. And I think we need to push hard, get those corporate funds, do what we have to do. We have a reason to build. We have a reason to exist more than anyone else. And I think we have to push hard. We have to let Krishna know how serious we are to get this job done. I also liked your points too, Shamapriya. It's not just a farm, it's places for older people to retire. We can't maybe work as hard on a plow, but we need to retire. We still have something to contribute. I always felt that there should be an opportunity where housing, inexpensive but decent housing, can be had on our farms to attract devotees to come. And if they participate in some way, they're going to be given free housing because of their participation, and they'll be happy to participate. We're not looking for ownership, we're looking for participation. We're looking for a place to engage. So I just wanted to say those couple of points. Thank you.
Those are the aromatic herbs coming in the khichdi, right? It's just, you can smell. Yeah, you can see the khichdi is coming up. Yeah, I like to make the chants. I think it's the chants, right? So Nishyananda Prabhupada brought the BBT, and there's some some work to be done. But we could actually propose something. Before I propose, I would say an experience I had. I went to GEN. Are you familiar with GEN? GEN stands for G, Global, E for Eco Village, and N for Network. They stay in Scotland, in Findhorn, the first alternative community in England. The Findhorn trailer community, those of you might have been there. And they evolved a lot. And today they have the Findhorn Foundation. The Findhorn Foundation has about, 50 or 60 NGOs attached to it. And all those NGOs are grabbing funds from the European Union, before it was, and the UK, and they are applying in the foundation, in the community, in the development. So it's a very thorough fund, education and things like that. So, food for thought, the chants of the Kitri, maybe. BBT, Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. What about BLT, Bhaktivedanta Land Trust? Well, there's a trust which is worried about developing all these communities, having NGOs attached to it, and giving funds to these specific projects. If we have very serious businessmen who can drive such an institution, I'm sure that we could develop rules for acquiring the new lands, supporting the existing lands, supporting education. It's something to think about. I don't know if this is a chance of the Kitri, but it's something in my mind. It's a next level where we organize ourselves, we don't burden the GBC or the BBT, and we move on. We have enough narratives in the farms to create our own fundraiser, ledge. And I'm sure after we do it, they'll be looking at our fundraising and should say, we want part of that. Because there's so much funds into that in the United Nations, Lenovo. They need to fund sustainable projects. There's a need. And we are not addressing that need because we are not organized yet. But if we are,
but I don't know, is it cooperation only within a local community, or is it cooperation, Dhruva, among our entire society? Should we focus maybe, if in North America, on one project? Is that how we're going to be able to be successful? You know, because right now it seems splintered.
Yeah, no, I mean, am I supposed to answer? Yes, all what you're saying is true. It's all very splintered. The previous North American leadership, I have to be careful, where's Swabash Prabhu? He might not give me lunch. But, you know, the previous leaders, their vision was that I should, you know, each temple has to be very local. You do your fundraising locally. So I said, okay, where am I going to go fundraise? From the Amish? And yes, that can be a long-term strategy, but, you know, there needs to be other things in place to be able to get there to that level of fundraising. So, again, it's like Nishangananda Prabhu was saying, you know, there needs to be strategy, I think, both ways, from the top down, but also there can be those groundswell activities. And I think, you know, in Gita Nagari, what we've demonstrated is, I mean, of course, there's been a lot of guidance and leadership from our GBC, Devamrita Swami, you know, putting some emphasis and focus on Gita Nagari, but then again, a lot happening at the ground level to also develop Gita Nagari to where it is today. So I invite all of you to please come and visit us in Gita Nagari, and with the hope of relocating. I know sunny, warm California, but you know, where there is my realization, I was born in South Africa, and you know, I never dreamed of coming and living in Pennsylvania and farming and doing all of these things. Somehow or the other, by the mercy of my spiritual master and the senior devotees, here I am. So I never thought I'll be able to, you know, acclimatize to this cold, bitterly cold winter that we had last. But, you know, somehow or the other, because there's service there, this was Prabhupada's mood also, that, you know, where there is service, you know, everything else really doesn't matter. And so somehow, you know, Radha Damodar are tolerating me, and, you know, we are trying to engage in service, and so many nice things are happening. So many seeds are being sown, and, you know, devotees are very enthusiastic like that.
I don't know, does Gita Nagari have a school?
No, we don't at the moment. I mean, it's something that, of course, we want to re-establish. We used to have one, but there's nothing. Yes, it is the perpetual idea. You know, I think countless devotees have given me that idea. If, like Alachua, you start a school,
Yes.
but you need at least one or two families to stay in Gita Nagari to have the school. So I've been waiting 18 years for that one family to come to get things going.
They don't have snow in Alachua, so
I mean, I've been in Gitanagari now for 18 years, and the most amount of snow I saw was this much snow for 2 days. Yeah. So I don't know. And that's another thing, this fallacy that seems to be going around that, at least as far as Gitanagari specifically is concerned, is that, life is very difficult, very austere. I mean, I think Prabhu was testifying this morning that, for a long, long time we always cooked paneer sabji with the little vegetables. You had to search for vegetables. So this is what he was remembering. And so, we have so much of nice things, but I guess this rumor that has been going around for a very, very long time is that, life is very austere, but I say to devotees, please give it a chance. Come and try it out.
Alachua is very hot also.
Mahashakti, you mentioned the splintered aspect of our farming endeavors. We heard about the project in the Congo, and that devotee, Hare Krishna Devi Dasi's son, when she went to college to study sociology and economics, she came home every day and read to this young boy from her textbooks to learn about sociology and economics. And when he got to be a little older, he got to be studying, in school, he was following up on that early learning. And he also was playing video games that, they have all these games where you build cities and environments and so on and so forth. Then he went to the Congo and he actually did it. Now, his comment with that background about, how we can manage to do what we're talking about here today was, if you have a group of people that have walked out into the forest and gotten lost, and they don't know how, they have no idea where they are. They're desperately lost. Well, one way to find their way out is everybody says, well, we're going to vote. And, the majority says go that way. So everybody goes that way. Well, what if it's completely the wrong way? He says, maybe the best way to deal with this is everybody goes a different direction. And somebody is probably going to be successful. They're going to get out, and then they can say to somebody else, this is where all these other people are. So splintering is not necessarily a bad thing. It gives everybody a chance in every different environment to figure out what works for them, and maybe somebody's going to be fabulously successful, and then we can get the ball really rolling.
Thank you, Prabhu. There's one statement that Srila Prabhupada one time, how does this go? One time Srila Prabhupada asked Giriraj Maharaj, how will this movement go on, right? And then he said, Giriraj Swami answered, what is intelligence or something? And Prabhupada said, an organization. Isn't it? Is that correct? Okay. By purity. And Prabhupada said, purity and organization, intelligence. So that I see there are many varieties of different contribution devotees doing here, and I'm very happy to see that. I'm learning a lot. So it's something that came to my mind is that, like some devotees mentioned already, it has to be from the top to the bottom. So, okay, we have an organization here, we have devotees, leaders in each community, they give priority to a particular project they have in mind, and the money is coming, and sometimes it's a lot of money, but they already have something in mind, and then here you come and you try to do your project, thinking that is the best to do. How can you convince them to actually, contribute to your, and that's the challenge. And sometimes I'm thinking, well, if those particular leaders, not necessarily this temple, but many other temples, do they actually, this is like a question, do they actually talk about the community in general to see if actually is that what the community feels that that's an important project for them to spend the resources that other line members give? Of course, when it comes to book distribution, it's no question, everybody agrees. But when it comes to, like farming, and this becomes a little bit like a secondary thing. So I guess that's like the challenge. And
Thank you. Those very astute comments. Where's the LA farm? No, it's not that Escondido. Hello. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We're having a conference, a Prabhupada Festival with a theme of developing rural communities, farm communities. LA's been here since the late 60s. Where's our farm? Doesn't it seem like a non sequitur that we have a large Indian community? We have an established temple. It used to be much bigger, but still it carries on. And much to we're very grateful for the leadership that carries it forward. But where's the vision for a farm? We had one at one time up in Three Rivers, kind of, sort of. It was a Gurukula. Wasn't really arable land, unless you like to watch rocks grow. But really, I have experience. There's a friend of mine in Topanga, half an hour from here, and he bought land in Fillmore, which is about an hour's drive from here. And Fillmore has a lot of water. There's a big river that goes down. They bought land right along the river. They bring in people from Brazil, actually, to teach them agriculture. They found that they're doing a regenerative example where you don't plant, you plant trees, fruit trees according to different levels of canopies, etc. Yeah, what's it called? Yeah, syntropic farming. They have, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 acres. And they're raising all kinds of crops, but not, in a unicultural way, but in a what do you call it? Monoculture, not in a monoculture. And then another friend of mine from Topanga saw that example. He bought land out in Fillmore. It's the last 3, 4, 5 years. And he's doing a whole farm thing out there, raising crops, in a very regenerative way. And I'm thinking to myself, we had at one time when Rameshwar was in charge, we had a chance to buy what's now belongs to the conservatory now, but we had a chance to buy it. It was huge farm land within 45 minutes of here, right at Las Virgenes Road in Mulholland, I think they call it the Gillette property. Oh, what a deal that was. You know why we didn't buy it? Oh, it's too close to where the bombs might fall in LA to be affected by the, nuclear bombs. But I don't get it. Where is our farm? we're supposed to be we were at one time world headquarters. And I'm not sure why we haven't, in all these years, 40 years, developed a farm community, at least invested in land for a future farm community. So maybe if we can see why this community, we can dissect why this community did not invest in Prabhupada's vision, maybe we'll understand what we need to do to get the rest of the world to do it. Because this is a microcosm for everywhere else. What's holding it up? Is it the fact that there's, for example, here we used to have istagosis. We don't have istagosis. Here we used to have temple board. We really don't have a temple board. Is it the way in which it's managed? Is it because there's no vision? I'm talking to you. Is it because we have no one saying to the leadership, what are you thinking? Where is this going? Why aren't you? Is it because Prabhupada set up temples to be so decentralized that a temple is going to always reflect just what the temple president or the leadership wants for that temple and is somewhat immune from any other pressures? Is a defect in the way or a characteristic, not a defect, in the way in which we are organized as a society? Maybe so. Maybe that's just the way it is. You're always depending. If you don't like it here, find somewhere else. Go somewhere else.
You want to reply?
Yeah, I'm not quite done. Because I'm churning this issue. If we haven't done it here in all these years, let's find out why LA has not been behind the 8 ball of farming. And maybe we'll find out what needs to be done to get everyone to cooperate. Right? Am I off on this? Or I'm not trying to find fault with anyone. I'm trying to see, what are we missing here? Because other people are doing it, and they've done it in the last few years. Since COVID, they've done it. And they're doing great. I went out there. They have these guys teaching. They have people coming. It's like New Govardhan in Australia. They have workers come live there. They bought a big house with lots of rooms. They have a communal kitchen. And they're doing it. And they're not devotees. And we do our little part in Topanga. We have we've planted and cultivate over 100 fruit trees, on our property. We bring down a lot of, whatever, we have thousands of pomegranates and, we bring them down to the temple when we can. But it's nothing organized. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Raising fruits and vegetables is just a wonderful part of life. Anyway, so maybe we can churn that here while we're here in the next day and find some answers.
I think your question is very important, and we have been talking to Sivas for the last 8 years since I came here in 2018. Me and Purushottam, we had a meeting with him. One of his answers, and he just gave it today, is that he's afraid to start cows. He doesn't know how that's going to evolve, and it's a genuine fear. We know that. So, what you have described just now with your 2 friends' family, it's happening all over the world. And I've been tooting the horn. Agroforestry is something which is catching up, and there are people, there are youngsters, there are courses, there's money involved, there's development involved, and it's something we can do. So what they have done is something happening a lot in Brazil, in Portugal, in Spain, in California, some parts of Africa, in Southeast Asia. All the tropicals first, they are semi-tropicals, or they are getting people to know, and I present it tomorrow, what is it that we missed in the biological narrative that made us so polluted, so degraded. So they catch that and they teach people in a simple way. And you see, it's quite simple. So that is very trendy, And people, even if they're not farmers, they want to know and they want to practice in the back gardens. So there's a movement around. So perhaps that's one talking point. If the leader here sees that opportunity, that window that your friend saw, he would invest in the farm. Maybe $500,000, and he get a house and a piece of land and everything like that, which is easily doable. We just need one person with that vision to drive it. Actually, Subhas once said, if he had Dhruva, he would buy the farm tomorrow. He said it to us, right, Purush? That was the exact words. We're quoting the exact words. So, for me, your answer is something which we should churn together. Because why is it that we don't have a farm? I think part of it is the vision of the opportunities financially, preaching-wise, is not very clear in our minds. We don't see that. We see trouble, we see burden, we see sucking money. We don't see producing money, people, bhaktas, vision, books. So to project that picture is what we need to do to the leader to, oh, I see what you're saying. Just like if you go to an Indian congregation, they'll prefer the Zebu breeds, even in America. You say like, okay, which breed are you going to choose for your farm? Oh, we want Gir. I said, but what about the Brown Swiss? It's here for 200 years. It's an association. Gita Nagri does it. Newfoundland Prabhupada loved it. And they're thinking that when I show this specific leader, what is the milk production? What is an extended lactation? How many less calves is going to have to supply the same amount of milk? His mind understood and he shifted. So that projection of vision is what we need to do. I've been doing on a soul basis, and I'm here because I'm trying to project collectively. So far I've projected few places, but now I'm talking to Dhruva and to New Vrindavan, and we need, and Vamsi Prabhu is here, we need to project a collective picture. And that doesn't come from the GBC. The GBC needs to receive the picture, because they don't have it. If they had it, they'll have manifested. We have to produce that picture. We meaning farmers, an agency of the ministry of the GBC to do that, the local residents, the experienced farmers. We need to project that picture and show it's doable, it's good. Because if we don't do it, it's going to be like everything else. We lost the incense business. We were the head incense distributors of the world. We lost, the yoga bar business went. We lost some, we're going to lose the farm soon because everybody's doing a farm, self-sufficient, almost similar to what Prabhupada says. The Govindas we almost lost. We had a clothes business in the past. So we start losing because we don't engage with the vision of everything, yoga and other things. So kirtan, we lost kirtan. Only now money has been put into kirtan department so that some kirtanias rise very high and the people absorb and consume their kirtans. So my short answer would be producing a collective vision and projecting it.
There are no model. I mean, Puru and I were talking. We've been discussing for the last 4 months on our calls, and we've been asking Puru, and Puru knows. Show us the model farms of ISKCON around the world. Who's doing well? Right? I mean, 4 months ago I brought up Krishna Valley because that came to my mind. I was even thinking of inviting Shivaram. I asked Puru, what's happening? Same to you, Kalakanta.
That is my provoking question. When you make that question, you put on my feet. What has happened is, I get that question as my top question. And the farm is, which is the best farm in ISKCON? And they always ask me, oh, Kalakanta, what's the best farm in ISKCON? And my response is, what is best for you? And so the person says, best is, which is more self-sufficient? Said none. Then, okay, next, which one has the best milk production? Said Gita Nagri. Which one has the best engagement youth? New Govardhan. Which one has the best outreach for farmers? We're disputing. Gita Nagri, New Govardhan Eco Village has a good system. Bhaktivedanta Swami is developing an excellent system. It's coming up soon. And who's got the best technology? That's a big question then. Because now technology is something that we do up to a certain point, but we're very busy making the farm exist. So we can't really invest in the top technology and invest in the manpower to execute that technology. So we're kind of in the second tier of production, right, Trubha? We're not like in the top-notch production line in any of the cases. So what are we lacking? We are lacking that investment capital, seed capital, which generates the top production model. So with that, you attract people who want to be part of success.
I hate the word to use, ideal community right now that reflects Prabhupada's desires best, that we can say this is the model? It may not be. That's okay. I just want to know.
It's a radical, if you say none like that, because then Prabhupada has so many deity worship. If you go to Gitanagari, definitely you get it. If you want to talk about milk production, you definitely get it. Producing food, and you get it. Having devotees working, you get it. So they are missing a few cogs in that machine. If you go to Shivaram Swami, now you get like $3 million a year. You get the best landscaping you could get. You get the best sewage system you could design in ISKCON. It's all by gravity. It goes by gravity. Reed purifies 99%, 95%, goes into a tank. You water a fire forest. This wood goes in bullock carts to the bullock mill, which runs in circles. With bull energy, they cut the logs. They load it into the back of a bullock cart. They go back to the houses they deliver for winter. Is that what Prabhupada wanted? Would you say so or not?
I think bulls are really important. Yeah, Prabhupada liked bulls. Bulls
So
and cows are big deals. Big deals.
You have picture of Paramananda Prabhu delivering logs in Gitanagari for winter on a bullock cart. And it's really beautiful. You're just cutting the wood and delivering for the winter. So definitely that's the Prabhupada's vision, in a sense.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that question is what has been, when you want to run, but something is holding you back. You want to run, but because we are kind of too much concerned that we have to be 100% aligned to run. You see, let me try to be more specific in my comment. When you look at Govardhaniko village, they have a huge resort now. Hotels, rooms, Ayurveda, the best yoga. Have you been there? Vrindavan village. So from my self-sufficient club, I get remarks. But that's not self-sufficient. So that's outside Prabhupada's vision. You received that same comment? But then they are preaching and they are doing the sixth purpose of ISKCON, which is to make replicas of Vrindavan and attract people to those places. And then I say, from that angle, yes, they are achieving that. So that question is so complex because it involves something which we haven't looked at very much, is sociology.
To respond though, Kalakanta, and I really respect what you're saying, we do have a model for our temples. I mean, I can go to almost any ISKCON temple in the world. We see the altar, we see the program, we see the prasad, everything is known. We can walk in and just blend right in as a devotee. I could, other than a language barrier, I can move right into any temple and participate right away. But what I'm hearing from you is that may not be the case for the farms at this point, because you say that there's no consistency. That's what I'm hearing.
You're hearing correct, because the diverse financial background, cultural background, support from leadership, vision from leaders, it's so diverse that people didn't even know how many farms we had. Even the addresses were missing.
mean, I don't know the exact numbers. Somebody has that number, but they probably put in many millions and millions and millions of dollars to get it to where it is today. Yes. Yeah, I didn't want to say it, but yeah, I don't know the fact, but definitely they put in a lot. Unlimited cash. When you have unlimited cash like that, I mean, what they've done is very successful in that now they can go into this self-sufficiency mode because they've built the infrastructure. But how to build the infrastructure, I think that's the million-dollar question everybody is struggling with. How to build the infrastructure to get to that level. The only reason the Ahimsa Dairy in Gitanagari has been successful was because I had someone who came and brought the cash and said, okay, let's set up the infrastructure. Then it was my problem to figure out how to maintain, which we are successfully maintaining now. But that initial injection needs to be there. And I think getting consensus in communities, around what should be the next step in the community. Yes, and of course, getting a farm in California is great, fantastic, first-class idea, I think, in my opinion. And it doesn't have to start with cows. We don't have to start with cows. Just get the land. I'll come and work. I got a little life left in my body.
We've been talking a lot, waving our hands in the air about what our farms are like right now. I think we should take a look at some video that shows us what we're actually doing worldwide. So let's do that. We got a 20-minute video, and then we'll be hearing from Bhardraj Prabhu about his hopes to develop transcendental art program for young people. So here we go. And look who's just arrived.
Right.
What timing. Having a problem with getting the sound. Looks like, do I see a light on that sound bar or not? He's hooked up the sound bar. Is it the bottom left-hand corner? Is there a light there? Technology, the fallible soldier. Well, while we're working on this, I can talk about Plentitude PR. There's a wonderful program going on in Puerto Rico right now, totally bootstrapped for devotees that went to university in Gainesville. After they graduated, they said, we really want to do something practical for the world. And one of them was from Puerto Rico, and so they decided, okay, let's do a project in Puerto Rico. They went down there with no money, found some farmland in rural mountainous area, and and started not preaching to the locals. Do we have sound now? Oh, okay, you want to do it that way? Sure. So they went down there, they started a little program just trying to help the locals in whatever way they could. Puerto Rico's hit by so many hurricanes that everybody, they get going, they have a little bit of a program, they have some economic development, and then another hurricane comes and it tears everything apart. So one of these devotees is expert at construction, and he's looking at, well, how can we build buildings, how can we build homes that aren't going to be destroyed by earthquakes? So they just start developing good relationship with the community, and started showing people, how to cook vegetarian, how to grow vegetables. Just recently, after more than 10 years, they've got a cow, but that was certainly not their first endeavor. They just want to develop good relationships with the community, which they have done to the point where now they're getting grants. They started out with, cooking over a fire and serving a few people, whatever they could. And now they have a beautiful stainless steel kitchen, nice serve-out area, and they're taking care of the whole village. So, huge, wonderful program that they're doing. And now they've introduced some kirtan, and they're not yet openly developing any kind of temple program, but they know that in due course of time, when they do, they've already got the people. So let's look at this.
Plenitude PR is a tax-exempt, non-profit organization based in Las Marias, Puerto Rico. Since 2010, Plenitude has provided a dynamic model of sustainability and community service. Every year, hundreds of students, farmers, and community members visit our teaching center and educational farm to receive training in sustainable practices, including organic farming, rainwater harvesting, renewable energy, natural building, and the arts.
Our focus now is on alleviating the water crisis by training communities in rainwater harvesting, purification methods, and distributing them water filters. We're carrying out these efforts in collaboration with doctors and nurses on mobile health clinics in underserved areas of the mountains.
We will also teach about sustainable food production and strategies for domestic food security. We've experienced firsthand the advantages of growing resilient root crops in the garden and having bulk food storage in the pantry.
Together, we're part of the solution, because together we can help Puerto Rico and the Caribbean to become even more sustainable, united, and beautiful. Thank you for joining in this loving service.
It's a community which been standing here for the last 30 years. And what we propose here was a very simple activity. We just asked everyone to come and learn how the Swedish people used to cut grass. Yes, exactly, that's all. We presented them a tool which is composed of a blade that you hold it in a very specific way and you can cut grass. And in a minute, everybody was so excited to see how they'll do that. And we did, and we collected that hay, and we took it to a goshala. Go means cow, and shala means shelter. So goshala is a place where you shelter the cows. So when everybody arrived with a basket with very nice fresh grass, and the cows were coming in a big procession, a certain mystical, magical something happened that everybody became happy. The children were enchanted. The cows arrived. They started feeding the cows. And very soon some were brushing the cows and some were milking the cows, and in no moment at all the atmosphere was surcharged with happiness. This is a trend in society. Society has become very disconnected from Mother Nature. And now the new paradigm is to be re-enchanted by nature. From a little bit of grass, the cow can produce the miracle food, which is milk, a product which is most nutritious, full of vitamins. And in ancient times, all the villagers used to come together and milk cows. And from that activity, so much opulence would come. Rivers of condensed milk, rivers of yogurt and cheese. And they used to share this quite freely among the villagers. And when we milk the cows, we experience a certain happiness, because the cows is very happy, the atmosphere become in the mode of goodness, and it's very obvious for someone who is just in contact how nectar and interesting this activity is.
One day, the village gathered at the Goshala, where the cows live, and worked together to build a new barn for the cows.
I'm not an expert, but basically we're just mixing clay, watered down clay, with some straw, and that's what's going to be going into the walls for insulation.
Pretty much everyone in Sharanagati has their own family, their own projects and responsibilities, and so it was really inspiring to see members of the community all working together. Living in nature, in a secluded village with open-minded Krishna-conscious people felt inspiring to me, much more inspiring than life in the city. Here, Damodar explains how it is to raise children in Krishna consciousness and some of the perks of their lifestyle in this valley.
I thought for me there's two main things, well, three main things. Is be an example myself, that's the same thing. The second thing is giving them good association, that they have friends that are Krishna conscious. And for me the school kind of fulfills that part. For me that's very important, because they'll be protected by having peers that are good association. And the third one is to make Krishna conscious fun. Like Krishna conscious is fun. It's not a position. I would like them to be a little bit more serious, chant more japa. So sometimes it's a little bit of a responsibility, but in general, it should be fun, because Krishna conscious is fun. There's a moment to be serious, but that serious life comes later on in life.
Prabhupada, a great devotee of Krishna, who spread the movement all over the world, was preaching simple living and high thinking. The point is that by living simply, not endeavoring for unnecessary things and distractions, one can have his needs met, can achieve peace of mind and contentment, and thus be properly situated so to prioritize the culture of spiritual knowledge. In this way, our bodily needs are met, we feel happy, and we get to invest our time in something truly meaningful to the soul. Ultimately, we are the soul, and in order to achieve eternal happiness on a soul level, we need to inquire about spiritual matters, about God, the soul, the relationship between the two, and the purpose of life. That is very difficult in the city, and in the society as it is in general now. Overindulgence in everything is promoted as a way of life everywhere. People are exhausted, depressed, overly attached to unnecessary things, anxious, unfulfilled. That's because their focus is at the wrong place. The focus should be on the soul, not material things. The soul is where happiness lies.
200 ఏళ్ల నాటి జీవన విధానం ఎలా ఉంటుందో చూసారా? కరెంట్, మొబైల్ ఫోన్, ల్యాప్టాప్, టీవీ ఇలాంటివేవీ లేకుండా ఆ జీవనం ఎలా ఉంటుందో ఊహించగలరా? ఇప్పుడున్న మన జీవన విధానంలో ఇవేవీ లేని జీవితం నరకంతో సమానం. కానీ ఇవేవీ లేనప్పుడే జీవితం స్వర్గంలా మారుతుంది అని ఇక్కడి గ్రామ ప్రజలు భావిస్తున్నారు. అలాగే వాళ్ళ జీవన విధానాన్ని కూడా మలుచుకున్నారు. ఈ గ్రామం పేరు కూర్మ గ్రామం. ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్లోని శ్రీకాకుళం జిల్లాలోని శ్రీముఖలింగంకి అతి సమీపంలో ఉన్న అటవీ ప్రాంతంలో ఉంది. ఈ గ్రామంలో దాదాపు 60 మంది వరకు నివసిస్తున్నారు. ఇదొక ఫామ్ కమ్యూనిటీ. వీళ్ళంతా శ్రీకృష్ణ భక్తులు. ఈ గ్రామంలో నివసిస్తున్న వారంతా ఒకప్పుడు ఎంతో పెద్ద ఉద్యోగాలు చేసి ఎంతో విలాసవంతమైన జీవితాన్ని గడిపి వచ్చిన వారు. మనిషి ఎంత ఎదిగినా ఎంత సంపాదించినా చివరికి కావాల్సింది సుఖం మరియు సంతోషం. అవి రెండు వారికి ఇక్కడ కనిపించాయి. వీరంతా భగవద్గీతని ఆచరిస్తూ అందులో మనకు సూచించిన వైదిక జీవన విధానాన్ని అవలంబిస్తున్నారు. అందులో ముఖ్యమైనవి ఎటువంటి పెస్టిసైడ్స్ వాడకుండా వ్యవసాయం చేయడం, ఎటువంటి ఐరన్ మరియు సిమెంట్ని వాడకుండా ఇల్లు కట్టుకోవడం, బట్టలు మరియు ఇతర వస్తువుల్ని వారే తయారు చేసుకోవడం, మరియు గోవుల్ని సంరక్షించడం, ఇంకా అందరిలో ఆధ్యాత్మికాన్ని పెంచడం. ఇవే ఇక్కడి వారి జీవన సూత్రాలు. ఇక్కడ గురుకులంలో బాలులకు వేద విద్యలు మరియు బ్రతకటానికి అవసరమైన భాషలు నేర్పిస్తారు. ఇక్కడున్న 60 ఎకరాలలో గ్రామ ప్రజలంతా వ్యవసాయం చేస్తూ వారికి కావలసినవి వారే పండించుకుంటారు. ఇక్కడ పంట కొనడం, అమ్మడం లాంటివి జరగవు. ప్రతిదీ ప్రకృతి సిద్ధంగా పండిస్తారు మరియు వచ్చిన వారికి లేదనుకుంటా ప్రతి ఒక్కరికి ప్రసాదాన్ని పంచుతారు. ఇక్కడి ఇళ్ళన్నీ పెంకుటిల్లు. వీటిని సిమెంటు మరియు ఐరన్ లేకుండా ప్రాచీన పద్ధతిలో సున్నం, బెల్లం, కరక్కాయి, మెంతులు, మినుములు ఇలా గానుగులో వేసి వచ్చిన మిశ్రమాన్ని గుగ్గిలంతో కలిపి కట్టుబడికి వాడతారు. మనకి ఎక్కువగా మండువలో గిళ్ళు కనిపిస్తాయి.
Hare Krishna, this is Krishna Kirtan Das from New Govardhan, Australia. I operate a bullock care and training program, which means all bulls from a very young age, when they first wean off their mothers, join our program, and they all learn how to be yoked up, how to be handled, and also we train young people and educate people. We run farm tours on a weekly basis, and people can learn all aspects of cow protection in a comprehensive way, from milking, from the milking herd, the dry herd, the bullock herds, the old cows. They all learn that they're all valuable members of our community, and they all contribute in many ways, including where they're valuable done. So I feel as an international community we need to learn and educate ourselves and others on the full cow program, not just the milking cows, but all cows and bulls. And even if we run just a basic training program, just in case one day we may even need them all to come and serve nicely. So this is what we do here, and all glories to all of you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. My name is Simeshwara Das. I'm the co-regional secretary of the International Society for Krishna Conscious Malaysia and director for the Hare Krishna farm. So here we are at New Godruma Dam farm. Our Hare Krishna farm, 400 acres. It's a farm we got in 2013, this project, and we have cows and trees. It is called New Godruma Dam Farm. Go for cows, Druma for trees.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisance. My name is Sundari Taruni Devidasi. We are following Hare Krishna movement by serving all the devotees who are coming here, giving them prasadams, and we are producing some product from the cow department where we are producing some fertilizers and doing some incense and cow dung patties to serve the missions of Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
So our project is to plant trees, have cows. So Srila Prabhupada said, or the founder spiritual master of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, he always spoke about simple living and high thinking. And in one of the purposes of ISKCON, purpose number 6, he said how we should have a natural way of life. So we like to follow this example which Srila Prabhupada wanted to show the whole world, and so that people can have a revival of their life.
Yeah, I believe that's of life, where nowadays everybody are living in the city. They never teach the children how to grow up the plantations, like eating food without chemicals, Of course, in a community we can build up the big things if you all work hard together like a teamwork. Because as Prabhupada said, association is very important. You can't do anything like spiritual thing, anything by single. You have to need a community so you can advance in Krishna consciousness.
We have so many visitors. Every summer we get a lot of families visiting, a lot of people who are interested in cows, and we are able to give them a chance to milk a cow. We have very gentle cows. It's really creating the mood of Vrindavan. This is, Prabhupada wanted New Vrindavan to be a holy dham in the West, and this is a chance for people to know what Vrindavan is about, Krishna and his cows, and give them a nice place to live and care and so much affection that cows always reciprocate.
fact one of the happiest cows in Britain. Sarabi is almost 6 months old, and while most dairy farms would have weaned him off his mother's milk some time ago, the Hare Krishna Hindus who run this place let him carry right on suckling. There are 44 cows living here on the Gokul farm, just outside London. The usual mechanical milking pumps have been eschewed in favour of traditional hand milking to avoid irritation. Neither are the cows expected to calve every year, and often continue producing milk for up to 10 years after their young are born. But most crucial to the happiness factor is that none of the residents will ever be sent to the slaughterhouse.
Cows are very sensitive animals, and it's like if you have a dog, how you feel, the dog senses that. So here, because we have an atmosphere of cow care, the animals themselves are a lot more peaceful and tranquil because there's no sense that they're going to be killed by us.
Normally in a dairy farm, each cow has to justify its position. And so if it doesn't produce enough milk, or if it doesn't get in calf, or if there's a major health issue, then they will be culled from the herd, which means that they will be sent to slaughter. Whereas here, the cows aren't under that pressure.
So, is this the bovine equivalent of a 5-star hotel? Not quite. These beasts have to work to pay their way. Cattle are trained to pull carts for visitors around.
Get up.
And also grind their own grain. But all this toil is well rewarded.
Son is going to the TV to the HDMI? This is the volume for the sound bar.
What is the main importance? If cities are for preachers and villages are for protection, but people in cities, villages will protect cows and eat nice milk products, which is very beneficial for spiritual life. But what about those villages who are in cities who are preaching? So they cannot progress spiritually.
Okay. Okay, let's try to sort that out. If one is somehow or other not able to associate with cows, if one chants 16 rounds and follows rules and regulations wherever he may be, he can go back home back to God. However, in a larger picture and looking long term also, there's a particular lifestyle. Many cultures teaching us a particular lifestyle where cows are most important. I briefly mentioned how cows, I'll give you an example because that's part of the question. Why are cows so important? Do you know that nobody would be sitting here today worshipping Sri Sri Radha Gopina if it was not due to cows? Do you know that to install deities, the brahmanas need to bathe the deities with panchagavya, with milk, yogurt, ghee, cow urine, and cow dung. Good to know. Nobody here. This is one of many examples. No Brahminical culture, no cows, no Brahminical culture. You would not be chanting the holy name. Nobody here would be initiated because Brahmanas cannot throw grains in the fire jagya with ghee. No cows, no ghee, no jagya, no diksha, sorry.
Right. No. Okay, so we're going to read a few letters here from Srila Prabhupada, but it's going to start with a
Puru,
conversation.
excuse me, Puru. Do you want to just take, maybe the people have questions about what they just saw? It might be relevant to answer anything that you can, or maybe Kalakanta Prabhu can answer any questions from what we just saw. We saw, different projects all around the world. I had no idea about that project in South India that looks like they're not using anything at all that's electronic, no phones, no computers. Do they have electricity? What do they do? What do they do in the case of an emergency? Are they so fanatic they won't go to a hospital that has a blood pressure machine? I mean, what's with all that? Maybe you might want to ask for questions. I'll ask you that question. What is with that? Kalakanta Prabhu, where are you? Oh my God. What's he doing? Anyway, okay, Puru, you're on for this.
For that particular project, I do not know the answer to your question. I suspect that they do have some way to communicate with the outside world.
But if you noticed in that, of course, they didn't mind using a, what do you call it, those helicopter things, what do you call them? Drones. They didn't mind using a drone to take their footage or electronic.
That was an outside filmmaker.
Outside film. Okay. Was was the outside filmmaker, was that his car in that drone shot?
Could be.
Could be, yeah. So we don't know if they use cars, don't use cars to get into town. I'd like to know more about that. Anybody else interested in about how far they go? Anybody else? Raise your hand if you're interested. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's it? I guess it doesn't bring much. I guess not too many people are questioning what it's like to live off the grid completely, or if that is completely. I certainly would like to know.
Actually, in that, when they shown the board, there was a contact number. So I think they have some bare minimum communication they had kept, looks like. Because in the video I saw, they had the name Kurma Kshetra and there was a mobile number down.
Yes, and in that same shot, there was posters or pictures that were printed. I don't know that they did that by hand with, local dyes. They obviously went to a printer who had, which means and are they cash-based, barter-based? How do they, how far is that taken? What do they do in case of a pregnancy and a necessity of a cesarean? What's the limits? I wish we had some. Can someone find Kalakanta outside? Huh, okay.
just because somebody's trying to live off the land doesn't mean that in this day and age we're going to be able to just flip a switch and one day we're living in a city environment and the next day we're living off the land. It just is not going to work that way. Even looking into the future, I don't think that we're going to simply renounce all of what we see in terms of modern technology. It may well be much more low energy technology, but it'll still be there. I mean, we're not going to change what we've already done to the point where it's, 2,000 years ago, living off the land entirely with, no modern amenities of any sort. Doesn't seem reasonable, does it?
Not to me.
Yeah. We're in agreement.
But I got a big Venus mound on my palm. So what can I tell you? Okay. Anyone? Yes. Question here.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Well, I don't know how many people are here to answer, but basically what you were mentioning about how do they function as far as electricity, communication, all those things, I think those things could be figured out one way or other, but what is really interesting for me to understand is that the outcome of the psychological changes that those people might have. Like, is there any measurable change of mood that we can, I would love to have some like social analysis, like personality analysis, psychological analysis of such, because we always think like if we do all these things, people were doing that like 500 years ago and everything would be perfect. Are they happening right now in this age as well? What is the difference between their interpersonal relationships versus other communities that are on grid or whatever it's called? So that's also, I think, to me is very it's a good opportunity for some people to go do some PhD research on these communities.
Absolutely. We do need more sociological inquiry into what we've done, what we can do, what are people's experience when they make even a partial transition, such as we're talking about. I can think of 2 devotees right now that are actually working on this sort of a project for PhD. So it's coming along. We're going to get there. But yeah, sociological inquiry is crucial, and we're, as in Kalakanta's Prezi, he mentioned near the end, the sociological aspect of our transition to a simple living and high thinking. It's something we need to work on. It may be another one of the keys to the concern about how do we get from where we are to where we're going, is to just see how this kind of transition will affect people. Most likely, it'll be to their benefit, because we're introducing a more sattvic environment. So that's going to certainly have an effect on one's consciousness. Questions? Comments?
I would like to say there were several examples like King Parikshit, King Yudhishthir, so many examples, King Janaka. They were kings, but still inside they were very pure. So Krishna consciousness is more like how you live inside your heart, rather than how you live in a hut or like that. So that's what I wanted to say. Like the same level of purity or one could attain by living a virtuous life. Doesn't have to be outside electricity.
Absolutely not. Of course, the 2 can go together, and one will support the other.
Any other?
That's a very good question. He's saying how we live inside. And if you compare to a plant, The plant has two aspects. The genotype is your DNA, what you're born to produce, and you have the phenotype, the environment. When the phenotype is ideal, you can manifest your genotype perfectly. So I think Prabhupada wanted us to have a perfect environment to manifest our Krishna consciousness. So that's what I've observed. It helps, as you said.
Just a quick announcement. 2:30, the Harinam bus is leaving, 2:30. So please join us in spreading the holy name around the town of Los Angeles. It doesn't happen that often. And, just a minute. And at 1:30 there'll be prasadam. Whatever time we finish here, 1:30, because Bhardraj is going to speak to us about the Fate Museum, which at one time was world famous because the video of the Fate Museum went all around the world. And people would come to LA and want to see that museum in person. Right now it's not operating properly, and there's a renovation at work, and it requires artists, and artists require community and association, and Bhardraj is going to speak to us about the necessity for creating that kind of environment. So that's going on until 1:30 when there's prasad. But we're going to finish up with it. You had a question? Harinam, 2:30 on the bus. Yes, for the invalid, the unwilling, the introverts, the fearful, those can stay in the temple and watch videos. The rest of us are going to go out and we're going to be on the bus chanting Hare Krishna. God, okay, just to be clear, that's it. Yes. Are we going somewhere, or is the bus taking us all around places?
The first stop is going to be in Santa Monica. We'll be there for about an hour and a half. And then we're going to go to Windward, in Venice, get off the bus, back to the bus in Santa Monica, off the bus in Windward, and then walk down to, Rose, apologize, on the bus.
Hold on. People who are outside here.
The bus leaves here at 2:30, hopefully. Probably a little later, but you can board it starting at 2:30 if you've been signed up, okay? If not, there's a van. It may be some room. If not, please take a car down. Park in Santa Monica. We're going to be at the pier in Santa Monica for about the first hour to hour and a half, okay? Then we board the bus again and whatever vehicles, and go down to Rose, which is where the Rath Yatra cart makes the right turn onto the boardwalk, Rose Avenue. And from there, the Harinam party will go down on the boardwalk to Windward, which is the circle. And from there, at 6:30, the bus is picking us up again, coming back to the temple. Okay, pretty simple. Does anyone have any questions on that at all? Any questions related to the Harinam? Yes? You got it taken care of? Okay. Any other questions on about? Are we good? I hope everyone's coming, as many people as possible. This is going to be like the busiest weekend for the whole year, practically, this Memorial Day weekend. It's very, very busy down there. So even if you're like a little shy and don't really know about your chanting technique or chanting ability, just come. You'll have a great time. We have great kirtaniyas that we've actually flown in And Amala Kirtan is going to be leading the kirtan. He's a wonderful kirtaniya. So just come, okay? And you'll have an absolute blast, and you'll get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. That's for sure.
And we especially want Adi Dev to come, don't we? Adi Dev to come on the Harinam. I think that would be really I think it'd be really great if he came. Haribo Adi Dev Prabhu. Yeah. Adi. I said Adi Dev. I know it. That's the late Agni. Right. Okay, so Prabhu, how many are you going to read a few more letters? Sure. Okay, so we're going to hear any other questions? Okay, then please continue.
All right. So we're going to start out actually with a conversation. It's called Back to the Simple Life and Simple Truth. It's a conversation between Srila Prabhupada and one disciple in New Vrindavan in June of 1976. Disciple. Srila Prabhupada, you once said, the tractor is the cause of all trouble. It took all the young men's farm work away. It forced them to go into the city and become entangled in sensuality. You said people had to leave the country and the simple life of goodness and God consciousness. And so, they went to the city and got caught up in the anxious life, the mode of passion. Srila Prabhupada, yes, in the city, people must naturally fall into the mode of passion. Constant anxiety due to needless lusting and striving. In the city, we are surrounded by all sorts of artificial things for agitating our mind and senses. And naturally, when we have this facility, we become lusty. We take to this passionate mode and become filled with anxiety. Disciple, the country is more peaceful. It's easier to think of spiritual life. Srila Prabhupada, yes. There is less disease. Everything is less brain taxing. In the country, the pangs of this material world are less. Excuse me. So you can arrange your life for real profit, spiritual profit. Realize God. Become Krishna conscious. And if you've got a temple in your home or near your home, you have a very happy life. You can work just a little, just for your food. In the spring, a month and a half or so planting. In the fall, a month and a half for harvesting. And in your remaining time, you can become culturally enriched. You can engage all your talents and energies for realizing God consciousness, Krishna consciousness. This is ideal life. You see the minute fibers on this flower? No other manufacturing process in the world can do this, such small fibers. And how brilliant is the color? If you study only one flower, you will become God conscious. There is a mechanism that we call nature. From it is coming everything we see around us. Now, how is it that this mechanism is so perfect? Who is it that has devised this mechanism? Disciple, once in London you said, people do not know that flowers are painted. Krishna paints them with thoughts. Srila Prabhupada, yes. Most people think that by itself, unconnected with a painter, this flower has become beautiful. This is foolishness. Nature has done it. Whose nature? Everything is being done by the natural mechanism of Krishna. The Lord is orchestrating everything by his innumerable, inconceivable energies. Anyway, learn to love this natural mode of life, life in a wide open space. Produce your own grain, produce your own milk, save time, chant Hare Krishna, glorify the Lord's holy names. At life's end, go back to the spiritual world to live forever. Plain living, high thinking, ideal life. Modern artificial necessities of life may seem to increase your so-called comfort, but if you forget life's real aim, that is suicidal. We want to stop this suicidal policy. We don't want to directly attempt to stop the modern advancement of technology. The so-called advancement of technology is suicidal, but we don't always talk of this. This is a letter to Yasomati Nandana, November 28, 1976. Yes.
Prithu Maharaj was very high into technology. He created a second sun, actually, right?
Yes.
So by Prabhupada is...
These days, this word technology gets confused in the sense that, you know, the simplest thing, there's technology involved in this piece of paper, you know, then there's technology involved in this remote. You might see them as a different level of technology, a different nature, and so surely in Prithu Maharaj's case, in that time, there were also different natures to the qualities of the technology involved. So to just say something is technological, you haven't really put your finger on what's the issue, you know. So okay, if we want to involve ourselves in trying to figure out how the details of how nature works, we have to think in that kind of technological manner. But today, lots of people are thinking about it in terms of, you know, computers and rockets and this sort of thing. And in Prithu Maharaj's era, you know, maybe it was, well, how do we more efficiently plow the land? You know, how can we produce a better harness for our bulls? So that's another idea of understanding technology.
And another idea is that this is the Kali Yuga is also called the age of iron. Prithu Maharaj was in a different age, an age of where mantras were the technology of creation, of doing things, creating, calling upon brahmastras and other so-called technology. So you're right, the modality of the technology is different today, and that's what Prabhupada was referring to. Today's modality is the age of iron and gross understanding of material nature.
Yes, in fact, Prabhupada's quote at the beginning of this passage I read, it's the tractor. This is the cause of all the trouble. It took all the young men's farm away from the farm. It forced them to go into the city and become entangled in sensuality. So, yeah, here Prabhupada is specifically talking about a tractor. He's not talking about something that's much more of the land. We're going to do one more letter, and then it's time for Bharadraj to speak. This is a letter to Yasomati Nandana, November 28, 1976. And what I'm going to do is, as we all know, Prabhupada's letters tend to talk about a multiple subject matter, so I'm going to highlight only that portion that's relevant for our particular interest today. You may say we must have a Goshala trust. That is our real purpose. Krishi Goraksha Vigyanam Vaishakarma Sva Janam. Bhagavad Gita 1844. Where there is agriculture, there must be cows. That is our mission. Cow protection and agriculture. And if there is excess, trade. This is a no-profit scheme. For the agriculture, we want to produce our own food, and we want to keep cows for our own milk. The whole idea is that we are ISKCON, a community to be independent from outside help. This farm project is especially for the devotees to grow their own food, cotton also to make their own clothes, and keeping cows for milk and fatty products. Our mission is to protect our devotees from unnecessary heavy work, to save time for advancing in Krishna consciousness. This is our mission. So there is no question of profit, but if easily there is surplus products, then we can think of trading. Otherwise, we have no such intention. We want a temple, Goshala and agriculture, community project, as in Europe and America now. All right. Bhardraj, can we hear from you now?
Can you introduce Bhardraj for us so that people know who he is?
Yes, of course. Bhardraj is one of the original artists in ISKCON. One of the things that he and his team of artists, first Transcendental Exhibition, put together what we now know as the Bhagavad Gita Museum here in New Dwarka. And so today he's going to tell us a little bit about that project and then talk about how he's putting together an endeavor to engage young people in artistic endeavors in service to Krishna. Here you go.
Thank you. Should I just sit here?
Or you could sit on the Yasas line, or we can bring a chair for you.
It's okay. I'll sit there. Great honor and a privilege to be here with you today and to contribute to this conversation and to include all of you dear God brothers and sisters. You can't hear me? Okay. In this glorious project. The project which started out under a different name, started out as the first American Transcendental Exhibition. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripa tamahang vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. I bow down at the lotus feet of my Guru, Srila Prabhupada, by whose mercy and power, even a mute man can speak eloquently and a lame man can scale mountains. It all began in spring of 73. We had just established, a few years back, established the ISKCON Press, the very first actual highly effective and technologically excellent press that Srila Prabhupada was very proud of and had come to tour the establishment of the ISKCON Press and all the other departments that were connected to it, including the art department, which was in a high mode of production. It has exponentially grown just in the year prior, in the year following of it being established in Boston, where I first met Srila Prabhupada and became initiated, and where the very first thing that Srila Prabhupada asked me was, "Do you want to paint for my books?" And I was such a new devotee that the idea just overwhelmed me. I didn't know what to say. Fortunately, my good friend and Shiksha Guru, Hansadutta Swami, was there, and he answered for me. He said, "Yes, he does, Srila Prabhupada." And so my service began. And it grew very quickly because Srila Prabhupada had such a great vision for the artists in connection with his books. It was very, very important to him. But things were moving very slowly. At that time, only Jadurani was doing the painting, and there were a few others who were helping her, but the work was going slowly, although Prabhupada appreciated and loved all of it. But when I joined the art department with His Grace, somehow or other things began to move more quickly, and in the beginning it was only the three of us working, myself, Jadurani, and Murlidhar, who was an excellent fine artist, and another elderly disciple of Srila Prabhupada, Devahuti, and all these paintings began to come out under Prabhupada's watchful direction and inspiration. So by the time the new press was established in Tiffany Place in Brooklyn, and Prabhupada had arrived to see the progress, things had really burgeoned, had really become grand. There was constant work on the press, publishing the Back to Godhead magazine and publishing the first editions of the Bhagavad Gita and first editions of Bhagavatam, and to that, and to Srila Prabhupada's great happiness and satisfaction, many paintings were being produced. Many new artists came to assist and to be trained in a specific work of transcendental painting. And transcendental painting, as all of us know, is not ordinary at all. Under Srila Prabhupada's guidance and direct inspiration and empowerment, all these very, very inexperienced, many who were almost inexperienced, completely inexperienced in the art of painting, were able to create something which Srila Prabhupada began to refer to as the windows of the spiritual world, or I should say, to the spiritual world. And the excitement within the art department, and consequently in the art of book distribution, became uncontained. How many books were being distributed? Many of them, or I should say, the whole effort of book distribution, which is something no one had ever imagined that such a thing could be done. But in combination with the art and the beautiful covers and the process of presenting personal, beautiful books. These were not just preaching pamphlets. These were art books. The art books were being distributed, and the ordinary passers-by on the street and in airports and wherever the distribution efforts were being made, and still are to this day, were struck by the unprecedented nature of these books, and really we're directly giving the people on the street, unsuspecting receivers of such great mercy, opening up actually the windows to the spiritual world for them right there, introducing Krishna to them right there. A powerful, direct connection. And Srila Prabhupada had explained it in so many ways and in so many times. And in that spring of 73, he explained it one more time when all the artists had gathered together in his room after the press tour, and after seeing all the new paintings that had been generated, and there were many. And one by one they were shown to Srila Prabhupada, and you have seen Prabhupada's face, how it lights up, how his eyes become large, how his smile becomes grand, just seeing how Krishna consciousness was being directly presented to the people in the books. And so he went on for a while, praising the work of the artists, and once again explaining how powerful the work is, how important the work of the artists is, and how the artists are blessed with this special gift that they are worshiping Krishna with their intelligence. He said the artists worship Krishna with their intelligence. And then just suddenly changed the subject. And it was such a abrupt and unexpected and difficult to understand segue. He said, but I want someone to go to Bengal, to go to India, and to learn the art of doll making. We were all sat there in complete silence, and stupefied by this statement, and so no one said anything. So Prabhupada, after that, he said, he began to describe the process. He said, they are these artists in Bengal and around Mayapur and other places in Bengal. He said, they are so expert. They can create a complete figure in one day, he said, and it's beautiful. I want someone to go to Bengal and study this art. So, who will go? Again, dead silence. No one really knew what to say or what they were actually being asked to do, or why they should even want to go, except for the fact that Srila Prabhupada was inviting. So then suddenly, since there was no takers, suddenly Prabhupada turned to me and said, Bharadraj, you will go. So it began. It took a while to put my wits together and consider the whole idea and proposition, still not knowing exactly what it was Srila Prabhupada was asking, but realizing that I had to give up my very important work. I thought I was very important for the work, but the work of illustrating Srila Prabhupada's books, all the paintings, and the work of art editing, the Back to Godhead magazine, and so many other responsibilities I had there, just to go to Bengal when Prabhupada said, "You shall go." So then, as Prabhupada was leaving at the airport, he said, after beautiful kirtan that we had, and for a while Prabhupada was just sitting there quietly, worked up his courage, and I made my way to Srila Prabhupada, offered my respects, my obeisances, and then I said, "Well, Srila Prabhupada, you asked me to go to India." "Yes." "When should I go?" I couldn't think of any other question. So he said, "Immediately." He said, "This is business. Do you know what business means?" "No, Srila Prabhupada, obviously." "Business means do it right away. So you should go." So we went, myself, my wife, Rukmini, and apparently Prabhupada had already invited some other artists. Adideva Prabhu is sitting with us here, was also given that invitation, and we all met there in Mayapur just a few months later. And when I arrived, Srila Prabhupada was already there. He sent Satsvarup Goswami, who was at that time his secretary, and he came running. As soon as I arrived there, he said, "Srila Prabhupada wants to see you right away." So I made my way to Prabhupada's quarters. There were really nothing in Mayapur at that time. There was a cowshed, which had at one point was Srila Prabhupada's first house on the land, and then there was a barely started building, which is these days called the Lotus Building in Mayapur. The scaffolding was still all around the building, and there were workers going in and out, carrying cement on their heads and bricks. And this was going on. I made my way up to Srila Prabhupada's newly finished quarters. Srila Prabhupada was sitting there very, very relaxed, very much at home, glowing at his desk. I came in. Srila Prabhupada said, "Oh, Bhadraj, you have come. Very good," he said. "Now I will tell you why I've given you so much trouble." And he began to relate to me the story of his Guru Maharaj. So first he said, millions of my books have been distributed all over the world. He said, "I could not be happier. But," he said, "no one is reading them." When I heard him say that, I nearly fell over backwards. I could not imagine even such an idea. But Prabhupada said, "Yes." He said, "Even some of my disciples are not reading them." He said, "Because people are illiterate." He said, "It is not that they don't know how to read, they have no interest in reading." I especially philosophical books. He said, he said, my Guru Maharaj also printed and distributed millions of books all over this country. But he also came to this conclusion that nobody was reading them. And that people needed something to help them to understand what the Gaudiya Vedanta is, what the teachings of Lord Chaitanya are, what is this great movement of Mahaprabhu that he started 500 years ago. And it's still a best kept secret, even in India. He said, so my Guru Maharaj created this idea using the arts, the popular arts of Bengal, which were called putul. Putul is a traditional representation of divine leelas and personalities and deities during certain times of the year, which are different times of pujas. I know I'm taking a bit of time, but if that's okay, can I continue? Thank you. I just thought I would share a bit of a history of fate with you, which I think makes a great deal of difference when you understand the importance. So he said, so my Guru Maharaj used this art, this indigenous traditional art of putul, to use it to represent the philosophical ideas, metaphors, the leelas, and the messages of Srimad Bhagavatam, as taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he created what he called theistic exhibitions. And these theistic exhibitions were enormous fairs full of all kinds of activities, entertainment, and dioramas. So throughout these fairs, the dioramas would be spread out, and the dioramas were hugely popular, and the people just couldn't get enough. They would just stand in front of these representations, these scenes that have been created, beautifully done, by artists who have been doing this for thousands and thousands of years, who are basically a unique class of artists who have been doing this since the beginning of time, and who have interesting ways, or almost we could say mystical ways, in which they receive these manifestations, mentally receive how these figures should be made, how they should be represented, and the effect of these forms is absolutely, undeniably spiritually awakening. And then Prabhupada said, this is the process, he said, that's why, the reason why my Guru Maharaj had chose this. He said, it creates, when you see such a representation even if you just see it for a moment, he said, it enters into the brain. This is what he said. He said it enters into the brain, it becomes embedded in the brain, and you will never forget it. You will never lose it. You can see it again and again and again, and it is actually an entrance into the spiritual world. The power of this art is extremely. It's almost inexplicable. And he said, so now he said, I want you to learn this. And when you have learned this and understand how to apply the art, then you will go back to America, he said, go to the West and proliferate, establish these exhibitions all over the world. And he said it will create a revolution. And so the rest is history, as it is said. We came here after some periods of learning and studying and challenges of all of that. But finally, when Prabhupada saw that we had learned what was necessary to learn, he immediately said, now you go and teach and train artists and create these exhibitions. When we came here, we had great visions, great aspirations, great ambitions in terms of what to do and how to do it. But it was not an easy task to convince the administration of this temple and all those who were in a position to offer facility to set up a studio and engage in this work, in this art. So it took some time, but then Prabhupada came and he began to see whatever the initial endeavors that were made. We had created some initial dioramas. There was a diorama of Giridhari holding up the Govardhan hill. I think that was probably our first endeavor, right, Haridev, as I recall. And that got us all very excited, just to be able to produce something that everyone could see and understand, the power of the medium. And after that, we created a diorama for Damodar Ashtakam, for the Damodar month, of Yashoda trying to bind Krishna. And that was very ecstatic, and it was here for a long time. You can still see, I think there's still some images of that. I don't know what happened to the original diorama, but that became, after that we created a diorama of Krishna Arjuna on the chariot with the horses, and that was in our first studio upstairs across the street. And Prabhupada came just at that moment when we had finished gold leafing the chariot and set it all up in that upstairs studio. And Prabhupada came in and just kept looking and looking over, and then he said, "The horses are more beautiful than Krishna," which was obviously his way of teasing us and playing, but the praise was unmistakable. While everyone who stood there with their mouth open, trying to figure out what the phrase was, what meant, then he followed it up with, it is because they are devotees. Prabhupada was so happy to see all of this coming together that soon after that, I think it might have been the very next day, there was a gathering in Prabhupada's first quarters, which are now in place of Govinda's restaurant, and remembered what he had seen and began to talk about it. And then he turned and he said, so now he said, you have to help him, meaning me, to keep this, to develop this, to develop the studio, to develop this work, to create the exhibition. Rameshwar Prabhu was there, and this was the capital. Not only was it a capital of ISKCON, it was really kind of the capital of the world, and the capital of the publishing trust, BBT. And Rameshwar was the presiding the presiding figure of BBT, and so Prabhupada turned to him and said, so you should help him. How should I help him, Prabhupada? You should pay for it. How should I pay for it, Srila Prabhupada? From the book trust. From the book trust, Srila Prabhupada? Yes, the book trust. And that's how it began. Actually, all of our support for the early development of faith came directly from Prabhupada's own gift from the book trust. And the rest, of course, was an unprecedented growth and production. So many things were created there, including many deities for many of the temples in the world, which till now were all, the deities were all coming from India. But now Prabhupada wanted the fate artists to produce, and the word fate was coined at that time as well, which was Prabhupada's great approval for that. And the reason was because even back then we had the idea that this is actually the representation of what Prabhupada had many times said about our progress as a movement, as an influence in the world. He called it, as many of you know, cultural conquest. What cultural conquest means, of course, is that it is so subtle, that it is so powerful, that it is going directly into the lives of the people and changing simply by introducing higher taste and higher ideas and higher appreciation of the gifts of human life, and the potential of human life for realizing higher reality.
Just speaking of higher tastes, I just want to make a brief announcement that prasadam, for those who certainly are going on the bus tour at 2:30, prasadam is now being served. So just judge your timing appropriately. If you think that prasadam is more important to you than listening to the enthralling and interesting talk by Bhardraj, you can leave. Otherwise, please hang in there for more inspiring histories and points of view from a very accomplished artist of transcendental topics and a very dedicated servant of Srila Prabhupada, Bhardraj Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Well, I will not keep all those who are eager to receive Krishna Prasadam. So I'm going to jump to the present day and to try to summarize for you what is really the point of my today's presentation. So the Bhagavad Gita Museum was created by the grace of the BBT, by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, by the grace of all those who were willing to throw their lives into the fortune, the wheel of fortune of the Bhagavad Gita, creation of the Bhagavad Gita Museum. There's so much to be said, but seeing is actually worth 1,000 words, as we all know. Bhagavad Gita Museum was, as you know, was created 50 years ago. Next year is actually the 50th anniversary of the opening of the Bhagavad Gita Museum. And over the years has become a great destination point in Los Angeles for many, for tourists, for college students, for many, and has been appreciated in the museum culture in Los Angeles, and the art establishments in Los Angeles, under the expert work of my Radha Krishna Das Prabhu, who has really raised the importance of this exhibition and of this museum in the culture of the art culture in Los Angeles. But unfortunately, it has become, by the influence of time and changing technologies, and there's a whole other story about that which I cannot insert into this brief presentation. So we are now currently, as a result of that, the museum has suffered damage and aging, and has been unavailable for seeing or for visiting for almost a year now. So in the process of this period, a project, a new proposal has been created, and a new team has been gathered. Some of them are the old team, the original creators of the dioramas. Some of them are new supporters and helpers in bringing about restoring and reinventing and revivifying the Bhagavad Gita, the message of Sri Krishna, presented in a way that is unprecedented and highly appreciated, effective, and timeless. So today we have come to the point of being able to offer to the visiting Vaishnavas and attendees of this festival a chance to see the museum in its somewhat restored condition. And I invite you all with my whole heart to take your place in the queue to allow us to tour you through the museum throughout the 2 days of the festival, and maybe even past, maybe even on Monday. That is the plan right now. So, and also, please stop by our booth and see the work that is currently being attempted, and description of the restoration project, and acquaint yourself with where things are at, and what the actual vision of the future for the museum is, and if you're inspired, and if you're in a position to help us in any way whatsoever, I invite you to come forward and to be part of this glorious, glorious endeavor, and to please His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, in the most significant way. Thank you so very much. Hare Krishna.